Hello. Hi. Everything should be working. Should be working. Should be working. Yes, yes, yes. Hello. Hi. Hello. Always nice to say hi. So hi. I'm Juan Million. It's March 10th, 2023, and today we're gonna talk about January 6th, 2021. We've got a lot to cover. We've got a lot to cover today. I don't want to spend all day on the January 6th stuff, so we're gonna try taking it slow, taking it easy. But one way or another, we're gonna have to talk about it. We're gonna have to talk about it. So, um, let's see what's been in the news this week. Everything, everything. Why don't we just hop right into it? We're gonna start with this picture. Wait, is this a video? Can I just find this video? I'm gonna find this video. Hold on. It's gonna take me 2 seconds. All I gotta do is go to Twitter. See, I can figure this stuff out. It says basics. Skip for now. I don't want notifications. What is this?
An activist on either side. They believe what they believe, and that's fine. We have a democracy that's built on debate.
Hey, it's me. All right, cool. The recount. That was what it was. Here we go. I want to see what this actually says. So where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Should I be posting this much? Ah, here we go.
You're not aware of any employee taking something that one would consider a
Where you have more than 25% of federal employees not logging into work.
vacation time and bringing their computer and maybe logging in just a portion of that time or not at all. We have more than 25% of federal employees not logging into work, and they're teleworking.
Congresswoman, I do take issue with the characterization that 25% of individuals are not logging in.
It's in this leaked document right here that we just submitted into.
This leaked document.
You're basing that from 2020, which was in the last administration, and I can't speak to that.
You're not aware of any employee.
Woo! She's like, look, this document shows that 25% of workers aren't coming into work. She's like, that's from 2020. I don't know anything about that. That's not even me. I love that. That's great. What has come out since then?
Ready to lay out his budget. I'm willing to sit down. And now I'm hearing, I told the speaker, as soon as he's ready to lay out his budget, I'm willing to sit down. And now I'm hearing things like, well, we're not going to have our budget till April or May, maybe even June. All this talk pushing me to get...
Did I make the same face as him? I didn't mean to. Look at that. Hold on.
All this talk pushing me to get my budget done. I said I'd have it done by the 9th. I had it done by the 9th. I handed it to you guys. I handed it to them. Why?
Look at his wife. She's so proud. She's standing there like, he did his homework and he did it on time. Where are you guys?
All of a sudden, can't they get it done in March? Or maybe even April? Or maybe even May? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't sound like they're on the level yet. I told the speaker.
Oh, he's calling them out. He's saying, hey, my budget's here. Where's yours? Let's see. House Freedom Caucus Republicans are offering a blueprint to lift the debt ceiling. They propose to nix Biden's $400 billion student debt relief. Okay. So that would be a $400 billion save there, I guess. Rescind unspent COVID funds. Okay, so to like retroactively like take back the funds. How does that? Okay, cool. I mean, I'm fine with that. Sure. I suppose. I mean, do we still need COVID funds for anything? I guess we're still making the vaccines, so it's not like. All right. Okay. Cut $80 billion in IRS money from IRA Act. Absolutely not. The IRS needs that, or else they can't actually investigate anybody except for people like you and me. You know, for basically not being totally honest on our taxes when like these people are getting away with millions. No. I need that money in the IRS. Slash climate funds. No. At this point, like, we're just setting the earth on fire. There's no point in slashing climate funds. Cap discretionary spending at, what is that, 2022 levels? Yeah, I don't know about that. No, 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 no. Like, some of that, okay, maybe, sure. What's this? Is this?
I just saw my staff hand as I was coming in.
Oh, hey.
House Freedom Caucus. The members of the House caucus will consider voting to raise the.
I decided to start with China's allies, but we're on Biden's budget, I guess. It kind of, I didn't mean for it to work out this way, but here we are. All right, so, what's Biden got to say?
The House Freedom Caucus. The members of the House caucus will consider voting to raise the debt ceiling contingent upon the enactment of legislation. You know what the essence of the enactment of legislation is? Cut off.
Holy shit, I need subtitles. Look, I'm not against the Democrats. I'm not for the Republicans. I just want. Is it too much to ask for politicians to just be like coherent? Like, what is this? I know. I'm sorry. But what I would love. I'm gonna check out some of the deep fakes later. Yeah, those deep fakes are hilarious. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that in between this and the next one, because right now we're on Biden's budgets. But so this is the Freedom Caucus, which is the more radical right side of the Republican Party. Marjorie Taylor Greene's part of it. I think Lauren Boeber's part of it. Like, Matt Gaetz, I think, is part of it. They're all, some of the newer Republicans are part of it. And their proposal is, look, I think I saw one or two things in there that I could agree with, but for the most part, it was just ridiculous. Like, you can't cut funding to the IRS because who else is going to investigate when like hundreds of millions of dollars are being embezzled and or stolen? Or stashed in offshore accounts, kind of like we found out in the Panama Papers. Like, I need the IRS to be well funded, because if they're not well funded, the only people they're going to be able to go after is people like me, and I don't need that shit. If they're missing money from me, it's going to be like $100 here or there, $1,000 here or there. I don't know, maybe not 1,000. That's a lot, but I don't know. I could make a math error. I do myself, so like, whoops. But like, I don't need them coming after me for $100. I need them going after these billionaires for millions. Center doesn't exist on political compass. I don't know. See, I think that we spend too much time trying to label what we are and not just being who we are. So like, again, I'm not against the Democrats. I'm not for the Republicans. I want more choices. I want there to be so many choices that at some points there's just no parties and we're just sitting there. Like, let me put it this way. I want a trading card game of politicians. That's what I want. All right? Absolutely. Because it's much easier to come after me. I've only got, like one bank account, like a car. Like, it's so easy to look into people like you and me for like random little mistakes. Let me put it this way. The IRS already knows what you owe them. All right. They have that, like they've got like all that information on you, but you still have to do the math because TurboTax doesn't want you to basically get access to this for free. All right. If the IRS wanted to, if the IRS were allowed to, they would basically be able to give you just a bill and it would just say, this is what you owe us, pay by this date. And like, that would be so, like, I don't understand why we're still doing the math thing. Mostly, well, no, I do understand. It's because TurboTax and like a few of those other, for-profit tax companies basically started lobbying Congress and got them to pass all these bills saying that the IRS can't offer a service that they're offering as well, especially not for free. And now if you make under $75,000, you can actually go to the IRS website, irs.gov, and do your taxes for free. But anybody above that gets screwed. But my point is that the IRS comes after people that are simpler to attack, because going after someone like, again, like Donald Trump is gonna take a lot of manpower. Like he's got several properties, he's got multiple businesses. He's definitely gotten some accountants to put money away in like different places all over the place. He gives gifts of like monetary gifts to his children, who then somehow end up gifting it back to him in like random expenses here and there. Like that's all really complicated stuff. You know, for him, he's probably got like I don't know a few different bank accounts at the very least. And again, I'm working with one, and like you know when you've only got one bank account, maybe like two or three, maybe four assets to your name, and maybe like a small stock portfolio, that's super easy for the IRS. Oh, yeah, no, I know, but like they're still auditing him, you know? That's what I'm saying. Like it's taken years to go through this, and they've got to have a small team doing that. Meanwhile, like again, the IRS will go after just random people like us for, you know, the mere purpose that it's much easier to go for random people than again, the more powerful people. Trump was a special case. But like there's a lot of other people that should be getting audited and are just not getting audited. And like Biden wants to pass a 25% billionaire tax. That's not happening if we don't have a well-funded IRS. Cuz you know they're going to hide that shit. Like we know that. Who are China's new allies? I know. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We're on budgets. Sorry. Here, let's keep going.
Spending other than defense by 25%.
What's up?
25%.
Hold on.
I just saw my staff handler as I was coming in, the House Freedom Caucus.
Right.
Members
Freedom
of the House
Caucus,
Caucus will consider
more
voting to raise the debt ceiling
right side.
contingent upon the enactment of
Is this my
legislation. You know
right?
what the essence of the enactment of legislation is? Cut all spending other
Right. I need subtitles. My God, this man stutters.
voting to raise the debt ceiling contingent upon the enactment of legislation. You know what the essence of the enactment of legislation is? Cut all spending other
You know what? My God, I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. The essence of an accusation is that what he said?
cut all spending other than defense by 25%. 25% across the board. That means cops, firefighters. It means healthcare. It means that's just what they call discretionary spending, as you all know. And on top of that, what they're really focused on, I saw here. I shouldn't get
Is he saying the Republicans are defunding the cops?
into all this now, but
I'm confused, man.
it's kind of surprised me. They want to make sure we don't have enough IRS agents. You know those IRS agents we had? They're going to check on the accounts of the super wealthy, which require a lot of
Yeah, he's saying the same shit.
agents to look at it.
He's trying to be cheeky about
Get
it.
rid of them. I don't know. We just have a very different value set.
All right, okay. So what is this? Demands cut all other. Yeah. Can we get more information on this? What are they trying to do?
Here today because the issue is bigger than politics.
The issue is bigger than politics.
Watch what happened across this nation when people want to defund the police. We've watched what happened to our neighborhoods when you decriminalize activities. I think it was rather ironic earlier this week.
All right, hold on. This is gonna get us way off track. I gotta keep going with the budget stuff before we totally lose momentum. So, the White House came out with its budget. Here is
Hey, Scott,
the
President
basic
Biden
plan.
is proposing a budget that spends $6.8 trillion in the fiscal year beginning in September. That's
Oh my God, we are so booked. All right, okay, let's
an
keep going.
8% raise over the prior year's spending to fund ambitious social programs and an expanded child tax credit. And while we're waiting on specifics of how much
So again, I support all this stuff, but this is a hard pill to swallow for people.
individual proposed tax hikes will bring in, the White House estimates the federal government will receive about $5 trillion in tax revenues and pay $796 billion in interest on its debt. That's a 20% increase from last year as the Fed continues raising rates. And despite a pledge
Okay, so he wants to literally spend more and also pay off the debt. Is it? No, wait. Yeah, no, that's what he's saying. Hold on. Let me see.
20% increase from last year as the Fed continues raising rates. And despite a pledge to lower the deficit by $3 trillion over 10 years, the deficit for fiscal 2024 projected to swell to $1.85 trillion.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he's like the math is just not there. He's saying that he's going to cut it by
President Biden is also proposing $1 trillion in discretionary spending for non-defense. So that's all programs that aren't Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And he's calling for $885 billion in total defense spending.
This is like
The White House says
mind-boggling
the main
numbers.
priority for that 10% increase is to compete with China. Scott?
All right. Kayla, thank you. That's Kayla Tausche at the White House with the details on the Biden budget just released as we.
Here's the thing. China actually holds a lot of our debt. So when we're paying off the deficit, we're really in some ways paying China. I'm not suggesting that we default on the debt. Okay, but what I am saying is we are not on the best of terms with China. It is not a good idea to tank our credit score. Basically, there is like an international credit score, which, you know, we're semi okay at. I would not suggest that we tank our credit score and just default on our debt. However, if we did somehow end up in a conflict with China, which again we are going to talk about in a little bit, this might this might be a very interesting way to solve things. We could just kind of like slowly start paying back and then just kind of stop.
He said, let's bring in our halftime group here in our committee. Jim Lebenthal, I'm going to go to you first. I mean, $885 billion, 10% increase in defense spending. Look,
it is fun to see how money ends up moving everything, though.
You've been talking about defense stocks. We'll just get a comment from you here before we move on. It's the, unfortunate nature of the world that we live in.
And it's not going away. It just isn't. I can't predict it. I don't think anybody can predict that. So I think defense spending is set to increase, not only here but abroad, but within the confines of the domestic agenda. When you look outside of defense, Scott, I don't think we need more spending right now. When inflation is our problem, when labor is in short supply, more spending, just speaking from an economistic point of view, is just not what we need.
Well,
yeah, see, that's the thing. Whenever everybody sees the bill, like, we start getting a little worried. And for good reason. Like, that's a lot. All right, let's see. All right. You know what? Let's move into the China stuff. Let's move into the Ukraine stuff. I know that there's probably a few people here that are waiting for that. So let's start. We can get more into the budget stuff later. I know that we're just kind of, I don't know, here for this. Oh, well, you know what? Hold on. Is this short? This is short. Let's do this.
Here's your money briefing for Wednesday, March 1st. I'm J.R. Whalen for the Wall Street Journal. We often hear about layoffs as a way for companies to reduce staff and save money. But many companies are finding other ways to thin their ranks and not classify them as layoffs. Wall Street Journal workplace and management reporter Chip Cutter looked into that, and he joins me now. Hey, Chip, thanks very much for being with us.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, Chip, the idea of finding ways to let workers go without actually laying them off, that isn't new, right?
It's not. Companies have long.
So, basically, some companies are trying to now lay people off without laying people off. So this is what that guy was saying with the whole inflation, whatever. Basically, I think recently in the news, GM, and we can look at this a little bit more later, GM actually said that they were going to buy out people that were salaried and just kind of buy out their contracts and say, thanks very much, but let's not keep going with this.
So let's see what happens. Pushing employees out without firing them. They could reorganize teams or require employees to report to a new boss or make them take on a new project. All of those changes could prompt staffers to look elsewhere for work.
Okay, so what's going on now that's different?
Well, right now we're seeing a wave of high-profile layoffs, particularly among white-collar workers. But a number of companies are taking other approaches to manage their workforces. And so some are adding new restrictions on
No, never mind. That has nothing to do with the budget. This has a little bit more to do with the
Ours
budget.
is an era
And this is
of
actually a really
dollar
good way to
domination.
move into it.
If there can be said to be a world currency, the US dollar is undoubtedly it.
Oh, but it's 20
The vast
minutes.
majority of
you know,
international trade is done in dollars, and it's the currency of choice for central banks hoping to save up for tough times.
So in this video, we'll explain the dollar's rise to power.
People use the dollar because they've always used the dollar.
We'll find out what keeps it.
20 minutes on this? No, I can't do it. I can't do that either. It's 20 minutes. Here we go. All right, we're just gonna move right into China. I'm sorry, I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but here we go. So the reason why the defense spending is, getting bumped up is mostly because we're starting to see that China is, I don't know, getting a little more aggressive. They're not really getting more aggressive. We've basically started to corner them economically. We decided that we didn't want our chips coming from them or any kind of technology coming from them. We're attacking TikTok, basically just for being popular. And now, on top of everything, we've gotten Europe to join in on the whole chip ban thing. And now we're going to start making our own chips and probably starting to sell them around here. Maybe even, make some business with Europe. Who knows? But the point is that we are trying to cut down any kind of business with China. We're actually basically amplifying the trade war at this point. Could it have something to do with the spy balloons? Maybe. Could it have something to do with the potential lab leak? Maybe. Could it have something to do with the... Now, this is a stretch, and I don't want to throw this out there, but Ukraine was recently attacked with some really high-tech Russian missiles. Some of that machinery needs some really high-tech parts. If there is a trade embargo with Russia, they should not be able to access some of those parts. But if somebody was doing business with them, it would not be, impossible to see how they would be able to make those and make more of them. So, for all those reasons, things are not looking great between the US and China. China now has Xi Jinping in as his third term as president. That's what we're about to look at. It's not exactly like a symbolic thing. I think it is kind of a choice, but not really. But the point is that he actually extended that term. He also kicked out one of the former presidents of China and humiliated the guy terribly. I don't know if I can find that video. All I do know is that because I'm talking about this video is going to be region restricted. But let's get into it anyways.
Now, the Chinese leader Xi Jinping has been handed a historic third term as president. China's rubber stamp parliament, the National People's Congress, held the election, and there was no doubt what the result would be. Xi took the oath of office with his hand on the constitution that he himself revised, whereas his predecessors relinquished the presidency after 10 years. Xi tore up that rule book. He abolished term limits back in 2018. Now, the third term makes him modern China's longest serving head of state.
And he's basically taken this role and said that he is essentially indispensable and he needs to remain there as long as China is in this emergency state, which is maybe not entirely the COVID thing. He kind of sees another thing as an emergency. Let's keep going.
As we said, the result of this vote was not a surprise. It was widely expected that Xi Jinping would get to serve a historic third term. I asked journalist Fabian Kretschmer in Beijing what this will mean for China.
Well, I mean, the result was kind of expected. It was obvious that he would get this term, but it was not necessarily obvious that he would get a 100% yes vote. I mean, there were among the 3,000 delegates, there was not one single one who abstained, for example. So this shows you how absolute he is in control. And while nowadays, of course, it's unimaginable to even think that Xi Jinping would have left his space and would bring a successor into play, I think just several years ago, it was the opposite was true. It was unimaginable.
See, they're saying like, who could have possibly expected that Xi Jinping was going to get a third term? He literally tore up the rules saying that that was going to happen. I remember it was 2018, like they said, and he literally just passed a law. He was like, "Yep, now it doesn't matter about the whole two-term president thing. I'm going to be president as long as I want to be president." And I think it was just last year. Hold on, I don't know if I can find this, and if I do, I don't know that I can. You know what? This is already getting region locked anyways, whatever. There it is. Look at this. This was such a strange moment to see. So this was how long ago was this? 4 months ago? Was this really 4 months ago? Oh shit. All right, so about 4 months ago, this is China's former president, right? Hu Jintao. He was a president. We can look into him a little bit more. But basically, about 4 months ago, he who has had this like respected position, basically has gotten to sit here ever since he left, was escorted out in kind of like a power move. Like this. Look at this. And the president's looking at him. I don't know what he's saying, but like, oh. Seemed reluctant to leave the front row. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure he was reluctant. He was sat next to the great president Xi Jinping. Yeah. And now they're like, let's go, sir. And look at this. After he leaves, look at everybody else. Look at them. No, only this guy. This is the only guy who wants to help. Everybody else, all his former colleagues. And he's like, yeah, goodbye. Look at them. Nobody turns around. Nobody even wants to look at him. Oh my god. Whose departure was left unexplained and the nature's censors appeared. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Again, scrub any recent references to him from the internet. That's scary. What is this? What happened before this? What happened before this? Oh my god, this is such a better video. Where did this video come from? And then he's like, you need to take him, he needs to leave. Yeah, so I'm like, alright, let's go. Alright, let's go. Oh my god, that's so sad. Oh, speculation has been swirling. Poor guy, hope he's fine. Why? What does this say? What's BBC got to say?
That question from the BBC's China correspondent Stephen McDonnell is one a lot of us have been asking.
Yeah.
On Saturday, the scene was set.
All right, this is an old story. I don't know if we should get too far into this.
Congress
Hold on, let's
drew
see.
to a close. Reporters had just been allowed in. There was President Xi, having consolidated his power. To his left was Hu Jintao, his predecessor. And then, in front of all of us watching, Hu Jintao was escorted out.
Boom.
Within minutes,
It's great.
the footage
Great.
was going viral. Soon, Chinese state media reported Hu Jintao was not feeling well during the session, and that now he's much better.
Is he?
As he seeks to take President Xi's notes, Hu Jintao appears confused. There's also 45 seconds where he seems unsure why he's leaving.
I wonder why.
And he has been assisted before. This footage is from a week earlier. But many are questioning the official explanation. The academic Henry Gao told the New York Times, with Xi, he doesn't do these things for nothing. Global risk analyst Ian Bremmer goes further, asking why publicly humiliate former President Hu Jintao? He goes on, power politics on full display.
So this was just 4 months ago. And this is what I'm saying. China's been basically consolidating power for, I mean, like I said, he said that he was going to clear out for that third term back in 2018. So he's been ramping up for something like this. I think if we're really being honest, China's got an intelligence agency just like we do. They've probably been looking into Russia. They've probably looking into Ukraine. They knew this was going to happen at some point. Again, we don't know where COVID came from, but we do know it came from China. I'm not saying they did it on purpose, but it was a lucky accident in certain cases because it basically debilitated everything everywhere. I mean, literally, the global economy grinded to a halt, and so did basically every one of us. You know, everyone was either quarantined or terrified of quarantine or sick. The vaccines were, you know, what they were. Like, oof.
Any aspect of this is hard. Here's the BBC's China media analyst, Kerry Allen.
It can
Chinese
sometimes be very
water
frustrating
tornado?
trying
Oh
to
my God.
work out what's happened. And even though this happened in front of foreign journalists, it was out of earshot and it was very difficult to assess. You literally have to try and pick over the fine details. And
We'll
to
get
guess
into that later. We'll get
Then,
into
on
that
Tuesday,
later.
more footage emerged, showing just before Hu Jintao was taken out.
What's this?
Mr. Hu goes to open a folder, but is stopped. Now, we don't know what was in the folder. We do know that the new Central Committee had just been announced, and that Mr. Hu's faction had been frozen out. And that's
So that's what I'm saying. There was a faction here that was basically just kicked out of government, probably because they would not have supported the moves that Xi Jinping is planning to make. And this was 4 months
drawn
ago.
the attention of the Chinese dissident and artist Ai Weiwei.
Those papers supposed to have the name of the
Ai Weiwei?
new bureau circle
Who's this?
of the Xi, and they must have some kind of deal before made. So, but now what the reality must be has a completely different reality.
At this stage, that's a theory, no more. But these power dynamics connect to why this moment matters. As the incident unfolds, Xi Jinping looks at the man to his right. This is Li Keqiang. He's one of Hu Jintao's protégés. He's been Chinese premier, second in command, for 10 years.
Also, I'm pretty sure, and again, you guys, if you guys know, this guy might actually have been one of the guys that enacted some of the strictest lockdowns in all of China. The ones that basically had people sealed into their apartment buildings, sometimes factories, anything like that. Basically just locking people up and making sure that people were stuck inside for 2 weeks, sick, not sick, whatever, but he would lock down the building entirely. China had some of the strictest COVID lockdowns, and they praised it for being, incredibly effective at not spreading the disease. But again, they're still struggling with that, and they only just lifted their lockdowns like, I don't know, a month ago, less than that.
This week, he found out he'll be losing that job. And as his mentor is removed, he stares forward, impassively. So too did the rest of the powerful standing committee. Whether intentional or not, the imagery is unavoidable.
The way he put in the next stage has been, is heavily symbolic of the demise of his faction.
Again, basically fucked. Entirely messed up. So anyways, like I said, China is starting to face some sanctions, right? We are essentially, God, how do I make this a little more palatable? So look, here's the thing. We are trying to make our own microchips. We don't want China making all of our stuff, especially our technology, for reasons that should be obvious at this point, which is that they could sneak a bug into our technology. It's the reason why they see TikTok as being a security risk. It's because it's collecting information on all of us, much like Facebook does, much like Google does. Again, all of these tech companies are just collecting information on you constantly. Constantly. All right. Facebook will literally make you ghost accounts. I don't know if they still do this, but they used to make ghost accounts for people, which were basically accounts of people they assumed to be real based on other people's conversations around them. So what that would mean is that they would do things like, if you were constantly talking about your dad, but your dad didn't have a Facebook, they'd make an account, kind of like a fake account for your dad. And they'd say, like, this is a person who is a father. He is probably around this and this age based on the conversations that they have. And he enjoys A, B, C, D, again, based on the conversations that they have. That is the kind of spying that we're worried about. But it wouldn't just be from the apps, it could also be from the actual technology that we're getting. Like, again, the chips, the motherboards, anything like that could all be at risk of being spy hardware.
That a ruler, a Chinese ruler, would actually serve a third term, because the constitution made it clear after two term limits it's over. Why? Because the party wanted to prevent the same faith happening again, because Mao Zedong, when he was older, he dragged the country into chaos, and he had really an excessive personality cult. So that's why there were those restrictions, and Xi Jinping changed that clause, and he now serves as a historic for a historic third term. What does it mean? I think on the foreign policy front, there will be a harsh rhetoric against the West. The so-called wolf warrior rhetoric will continue. The ideological control within the country, I think, will also continue. Then domestically, for the economy, Xi Jinping will have to deal with a rising inequality. I think that's one of his priorities.
Right. So again, now that China's a little more developed, they've got one of the fastest growing middle classes. But because of COVID, there's been a lot of layoffs. There's been a lot of problems. Again, happens everywhere. So he's dealing with all those problems too. But he's taking that, same old technique we see over and over again, which is just find a scapegoat, attack, 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 attack. Right. That, and they've also got a lot of, social spending. Like they do spend a lot on, their people instead of like outsourcing things. But again,
to improve the situation for the majority of the people who are not as privileged as the top 10%. And then I think he also wants to continue pursuing what he calls technological autonomy. He doesn't want to depend so much on foreign countries for critical core technology such as semiconductors.
Okay, so you say that he got all the votes, but what about the...
Again, it's a semiconductor war. Like, everybody's looking for these semiconductors. And on top of that, the mines that they're getting the, like, raw material for, there's, like, actual wars going on for those things. Right?
Chinese people, I mean, what do they think about Xi serving a third term?
That's a complicated question. In my opinion, the Communist Party does everything it can to prevent the people from openly debating that. I mean, of course, if you criticize Xi Jinping very strongly in public, then that carries the risk of getting detained. And today, the big news was, of course, Xi Jinping's election. But when you clicked on Weibo, that's the leading online platform, and typed in the hashtag Xi Jinping elected as president, I mean, the top news with millions and millions of views, at some point shortly, there was a error message, basically a 404, saying we didn't find any relevant results. That goes to show that the censors apparently couldn't handle the situation and just blocked everything. And that doesn't say that he's not popular or popular.
They just deleted everything.
He has
That's
a solid
great.
approval rating, probably. But I mean, what sense does it make, this question, if you basically cannot be openly criticized?
It does. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
We'll have to leave it there. Fabian Kretschmer reporting from Beijing. Thank you.
We'll get into the culture war stuff. We'll get into all the stuff after we check in on China.
China's foreign minister has
So,
warned that.
This was 3 days ago. This is from, again, Discovery News. Like I've been saying, China's scary for, again, the semiconductors. And I know that they also want Taiwan. Taiwan is being protected by the United States. But mostly it's what those semiconductors can do, what these advanced technologies can do. They're not just some of the most valuable commodities on the planet. They are also capable of making some of the most dangerous weapons imaginable. The recent CPAC events, there were literal calls for extermination camps. Yep. I'll have that on the side, but again, we'll get to all that in a little bit. Oh man. Things are getting dark so fast. Like, oh, all right, okay, hold on, let's keep
That there
going.
will be, quote, confrontation and conflict between China and the U.S. if Washington does not change its approach to his country. Speaking on the sidelines of the National People's Congress, China's rubber stamp parliament, Foreign Minister Qin Gang blamed the U.S. for rising tension over Taiwan.
This is basically their version of a Secretary of State.
He also hailed the relationship between Beijing and Moscow.
Leading countries.
So he said Beijing and Moscow are still friends. Sorry, I know I'm cutting him off. Beijing and Moscow are still friends. And he also said that Beijing and Moscow are still friends. And Taiwan is ours. Or Chinese Taipei, my bad.
Should figure out what they want with each other. Do they want to build exclusive political blocs or foster friendship that is open and sincere? China and Russia have found a path of bilateral relations that features strategic mutual trust and good neighborliness, setting a good example for a new type of international relations.
And for more on this, let's bring in DW's Clifford Coonan. So Clifford, does this mean now strengthened diplomatic ties between Russia and China? Just walk us through what he said.
Well, I think it definitely does. It certainly dispels anyone who thought that relations that China's backing for Russia was anything more than was it just a tacit support. Is clearly those doubts are gone. I think one of the quotes he said was, "With China and Russia working together, the world will have a driving force." Now, this sounds to me like they're talking about forming a bloc and in some ways trying to isolate the United States, because I think it marks a significant escalation in this war of words that we've been having now especially since Russia's invasion of the Ukraine.
Diplomatically or also militarily?
Well, this is always the fear, is how quickly this can spill over. And
so yeah, again, we're just talking about like economic trade, diplomatic stuff, but eventually this is gonna, escalate. If they're gonna keep doing business with Russia and we're gonna keep putting pressure on Russia, it's only a matter of time before we start putting more pressure on China, and we're already putting pressure on China.
They've also, because of the situation between China and the US regarding Taiwan, you've got a whole new military dimension there.
He spoke, in fact, at length, we have to say, about U.S. relations, and he was openly critical about American policy toward Beijing. What specifically did he criticize, and did he also speak about Taiwan in that regard when it came to the U.S.?
Well, I think what's happening, Qin Gang knows the U.S. very well. He was the ambassador there. He's very experienced in U.S.-China relations. What he's doing is they're basically saying that the U.S. Forced Russia to invade Ukraine by backing Ukraine. And
boom, there it is, everybody. That is what I have been talking about. That is what's going on in Ukraine. That's what's going to happen in Taiwan. These powerful countries are going to say, we had no choice. The United States bullied me into this. I was a helpless victim, people. Like, it wasn't me, it was them. That's what Russia said about Ukraine. They said, look, Ukraine was getting a little too friendly with NATO, and NATO was going to be able to just storm into my my home. China's now going to say, listen, the U.S. never respected my claim on Taiwan, and because of that, now I feel threatened, and my sovereignty is at risk here. And then they're going to say, and then on top of that, they stopped me from buying my computer chips. This is what these countries do. They're powerful, like huge, powerful entities. They're like monstrous compared to literally anyone else. Like, literally, if you think that there's any other like global superpower in the world, like, you're just, like, we're just being silly here. But these are monstrous entities, and they are just sitting there playing for like their victims, saying like, oh no, how could this happen to me? They are bullying me. Like, what is this?
And they're creating an equivalence to some extent with Taiwan, saying that by selling arms to Taiwan, which is a major bugbear in US-China relations, that by doing this, they're putting China into the position where it may have to act militarily. That's the background to the threat. So, and these are very serious, and it is an escalation in the war of words.
President Xi Jinping also speaking about Chinese-U.S. relations in a speech. He condemned what he called, and I'm reading it here, the U.S.-led suppression of China.
Mm-hmm.
What was meant by that?
Yeah, suppression, containment. He also said these are words that we know from the Cold War era. He means that and it's a common Communist Party language used to describe how the West is trying to hold China back to stop China's advance. But Xi Jinping,
again, all of these countries, everybody in power, they can have different ways of, getting themselves more power. They can find different ways to consolidate power. But one of the most tried and true tactics is just scapegoats. Like, all you need to do is find one enemy, unite everyone around hating that enemy, and then just keep on doing it. Just keep on fueling it. Even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's complete and utter bullshit, and like half the people are going to realize that after a little while, if you can just convince a few people to just passionately hate something, like it's such a powerful force. And so, China's going to sit here. They're going to say the U.S. has been holding us back. The U.S. is the cause of all of our problems. It's not me putting our people into camps. It's the U.S. putting my people into camps. That's what's happening here. It's not me that's censoring the internet to such an extent that you have to, basically break the law if you want to actually use Google. It's the United States that's doing that. And again, it's weird to see these like monstrous entities. Like we're talking like kaiju, Godzilla, like crazy, like 10-story tall super monster kind of monsters. And like they're sitting here playing the victim card, saying like, yo, it's me, I'm getting bullied. Like, you've been getting our business for the past like 3 decades, essentially. Like, you've managed to literally revamp your entire society. Don't look for an excuse. Like, just own up and do what you gotta do.
Xi Jinping has always stopped short of mentioning the U.S. by name. And indeed, in the speech that he gave it in Chinese, it's mentioned, but it's not mentioned in the English translation. They talk more about international issues. But it does, again, mark an escalation in what's a rhetorical war at this stage. And this is a very worrying development.
Do you think he's just playing to the domestic base here?
I don't think so, because I think...
So yeah, this has been like a really big thing that like some people have been saying that the president, Xi Jinping, he's just looking for re-election. He just wants to, rile up his base, but like not really deliver. He knows that, going to war against the US would be silly. No. No, no. Guys, like he's gonna keep doing what he's gonna do because again, this is what's best for his power, his consolidation of power. At a certain point, you have to deliver to the base that you are preaching to. And like we're going to talk about later in this episode, once you start feeding a really radical, crazy base, it gets hard to stop. And look, part of the problem is once you become the leader, once you're in power, you have to maintain that power. To do that, you have to maintain power over the people that make the laws, the people that enforce the laws, and the people that collect the money. If you don't, then any one of those could take you down, right? Maybe not the people that make the laws. It's kind of complicated in some senses, but definitely the people that enforce it and definitely the people that collect the money. Because again, no one's working for free out here, all right? So he's got to cater to this base. And the more that they keep doing this, the more that they have to keep feeding into this space. They got to keep on basically, basically just cycling through this. And every cycle, it gets a little worse. It gets a little more extreme. So again, this is not just bluffing. Like, this is serious.
There's no...
All right, General. Yeah, sure. We can do that. Hold on. Fine.
The war
Send me the video.
has
I'll take a
global
look at it
implications
while we're
and is
looking at this.
increasingly becoming a clash of systems. Western democracies are feeling challenged by autocracies like Russia and China. Both models want to prevail. So far, China's peace plan countries, and especially USA, trying to selling this idea, this notion that this war is just not about Ukraine and Russia, but that it is a war on democracy.
Here we go. That's the part I wanted to say.
So there is no hard truth, at least not so far. In this context, we rely on U.S. information. So there is no hard truth.
Yeah, so that's the problem. That is the problem with most of the things that we see, is that there's no really like clear evidence one way or another, and we're relying on one country's national thing. That looks awesome. I'll take a look at that in a second.
At least not so far. I think when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, China in a certain way is facing a dilemma as well. Because on the one hand, they are kind of interested that this war is fought, because lots of US resources, lots of US attention goes into Europe, into this war. They are interested in having Russia as a partner, but as the small partner, as the inferior partner, as a country delivering commodities at discounted prices that China dictates. But they are not interested in an escalation of this war. When it comes to the economy, when it comes to supply chains. We had that last year and during the pandemics, and they're certainly not interested in a risk that Vladimir Putin might or could escalate this war in a nuclear way by pushing the button on tactical nuclear weapons.
We certainly have to be careful with speculations about what China is doing. What consequences would we see, Felix, if China decided to actually provide arms to Russia?
Well, then China would definitely give up its neutral position. At the moment, the experts call it the pro-Russian neutrality. It means...
Okay, cool. So again, China might not want to escalate the war, but they are definitely interested in having it continue. Because she makes a good point. The more that we focus on Ukraine, the less that we have to focus on China. The thing that China doesn't realize is we've got enough weapons to spare, baby. We've got it all. Just because there's war in Ukraine doesn't mean that we can't just swoop on over to the seas. Like, they're not counting on us. But yeah, they're right. If Russia continues to escalate this, if it gets nuclear, it's not going to be fun for anybody. Because all that space is just... Look, if that space gets nuked, the radiation could end up in the atmosphere, floating over, and all of the surrounding countries are going to get affected. It's not just Ukraine. It would be... Oh, man. Yeah, so it's not just Ukraine. A fair amount of Eastern Europe could get affected. China would definitely get affected. Actually, probably most of Europe would get affected. Look, I'm not saying you would die, General. No, Romania's not going to, like, it wouldn't just disappear, but it would... The problem is that the immediate areas of the impact would definitely be gone. All right, they'd just basically be vaporized. There would still be some buildings standing, especially on, like, further out from the epicenter, but the real problem becomes that the radiation doesn't just sit there. It kind of floats up, gets put into the clouds, and then carried as rain, or it could also just kind of float in the wind. Like, the point is, like, it wouldn't kill you right away, right? The radiation would take maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks, depends on how many depends on the concentration, really. But you'd have time. You'd have time to get out. It would just be very hard to clean, especially in the following months. So basically, most of the area, the countries closest to Ukraine would basically become unlivable if this went nuclear. If it was just one, you'd probably be fine. But if we're talking about, like, Russia's nuclear arsenal, yeah, if they used even like 1% of that, yeah, it would be a disaster. It'd be, on the one hand, it'd be a natural disaster, but it would also just be like a global disaster. It'd be insane. And China knows that because China would also get affected. Again, this would just float right in. Eventually in this video, they're going to get into how India also wants to basically become a mediator for this conflict. They want to walk in and take control and say that this is how this is going to go down. We come back to that whole, BRICS connection, Belarus, Russia, India, China. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go down. All right. But what we can say is hopefully this doesn't get too bad. And yeah, Modi is a whole nother monster. We're not going to get into Modi. We're not going to get into all that. Because again, that's way beyond the scope of this video. I just wanted to see what China's up to. Especially in relation to Ukraine. But you know what? Since we're taking a little break here, hold on. Let's take a moment. Just a quick moment. And I'll check out these links you guys sent me. So first off, because this is kind of connected. What's this? I'm surprised how good this sounds. Oh, okay, maybe not that great. But that's cool. God, you need like 5 hands to do this. Not bad. Oh, and now I'm looking at it. Just I'm gonna wait on yours because it's a good transition to our next topic. So we're gonna wait on that.
Doesn't criticize Russia,
but all right, back
still
into it.
remains neutral in this conflict, and this is for China very important because, of course, China is also dependent on economic relationship with Western countries, with Europe, with the US, and if China delivers real weapons, strong weapons to Russia, this neutrality would be gone. And obviously, the US would put up sanctions on China. And this is what China does not want. So there might be weapons from China in Russia, but I don't...
What is this guy saying? He's trying so hard to defend them, but at the same time, he's struggling so hard. He's like, maybe there is, but maybe there isn't. I mean, hopefully there isn't, but there could be, but it's good, but it's not, but it's, Yeah, I know, this is a German broadcast. It says it right here, German public broadcast. But I love how this guy's just like floundering around.
I don't see that it would make much sense in China's perspective to provide officially weapons to Russia.
If I might add one little point, exactly, when it comes to sanctions. I mean, so far, at least from what we know, China has been following, in a way, the sanctions policies the West imposed against Russia. We don't know about illegal, so to say, deliveries of semiconductors or other parts for...
Recorded March 2nd. All right, look, we get the idea here. All right. Plug, please, another video, 20 seconds. Fine. All right, fine. One more video. I guess we're done with the China talk. Look, the point is, when it comes to Ukraine, when it comes to China, when it comes to all this, it's not just about where they put the army. It's about the economic pressure that we're putting on them. It's about the amount of sanctions. It's about the treaties, the alliances, the geographic impact. So as much as we want to say, like, China, just tell Russia, like, stop. They literally share one of their biggest borders with China. There's no way that they don't have business. There's no way that they're not going to try to maintain peace between Russia and China. And one of the ways that they're doing that is basically by having China stay out of it. All right. Again, I don't know if they're giving them weapons per se, but I would definitely venture to say that they're selling them at least like microchips and tools that they are definitely going to be using for that. All right, let's see. What is this? You said it was 20 seconds, right? Hold on. All right. We're doing this, then we'll move on to what Jess sent me because I want to check it out.
Guten Morgen, Russen Schweinesoldaten.
Wait. Did he just come up to him and speak in German? That's hilarious. All right. So to what just sent me earlier in this. Oh, hold on. Where did it go? Just had it. Aha. All right, so we're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to shift over to more domestic concerns, more domestic policies. So recently, there has been a bit of a culture war going on. There's been a whole bunch of stuff. We always like to check in, see how things are going. What was this? Someone told me this is basically a... Oh, God, what is this? Is this CPAC?
Transgenderism. There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men
I didn't do the deep face. We'll do that later.
as they cannot,
Thanks, Estelle.
then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level.
Look at those old people. Look at those old people. All right, yeah, no, look. These people are crazy. All right, look at this. Arm the left. Oh my God. Side part here is that the police weren't controlled by these same people. This would be 40 years in prison without parole. Yeah, no, this is actual hate speech. This guy's literally calling for, basically incarcerating trans people. So here in the United States, we've been basically attacking these people for all kinds of things, right? And the problem with that is that at a certain point, like, who's left, right? So again, this comes back to what I said about China. China basically takes its time finding people to target and attack. In our cases, it's immigrants, it's trans people, it's people that deny businesses the right to be businesses. Like, it's basically anybody. It's socialists, communists, Marxists. Like, you can come up with a whole bunch of words, but basically they come up with these terms and then just completely erase the person and then just suddenly label them as what they are. Now, if you guys have ever seen, there's a special show out there called To Catch a Predator. It's wonderful, 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 wonderful. It actually had to be canceled at a certain point because let me explain to you what the show was. So basically, the way the show worked was they had this reporter who worked with a team of police and other things like that. Then they'd grab a 18-year-old who looked young. They would have her talk to people. Sometimes it was men too, sometimes it was boys. But the point is, they would have them basically talk to adults, tell them that they were underaged, and then get them to come over. Entrapment. It was basically entrapment. But at the same time, like, is it really entrapment when, like, it's basically a pedophile setting up a date? It was weird. It was really weird. It was a really weird show. It was a really strange show. But at the same time, it was wonderful. Because basically, the way that the show would happen is the pedophile would come over to the house, which was not at all where this girl lived. There was nothing like that. The girl was 18, but she pretended to be like 15 or 13 or something. It was really bad. And then she'd invite them in and say, oops, I just need to go for a second. I need to go freshen up. And then she'd walk away, and then in would walk in this reporter and say, hello, have a seat, please. And they'd basically get this person to sit down and ask them, like, what were you doing here? Did you not know that this is illegal? Do you know how old she is? Like, what are you doing here? And then the pedophile would have to sit there and try to explain himself before getting arrested by the cops out back. Anyways, at a certain point, they had to cancel the show because one of the people that got caught killed themselves immediately. But what I'm saying is, on this show, they caught actual pedophiles, and guess what? They were business people, they were community leaders, they were church people, they were, like religious people, they were all kinds of people. None of them was trans. None of them was a drag queen. None of them did any of those things. All right. When we look at people who have been caught as pedophiles, none of them are trans. Very few of them are trans. I don't know. We could probably find at least one. All right. But again, the point here is the epidemic of pedophilia is essentially isolated to the Catholic Church and surprisingly, lots of Republicans. There's actually a list, and I should probably be able to find this if we really look into this, but there's a ongoing list of elected representatives who have been caught for, these kinds of things like sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and whatnot, especially with minors and whatnot, stuff like that. Again, surprising amount of them Republicans. There are Democrats on that list. Again, no, like I'm not trying to say that like one side versus the other, but there is a very, very large majority here. Been going to jail over the last 10 years. Yeah. We're gonna look into a whole bunch of stuff. That actually might be a good idea, but we're not gonna look into that right now. We're gonna look into this. We're gonna start with this. Hold on.
Create a news organization whose primary objective is not to deliver accurate news, you will fail. You will fail. The New York Times is a liberal paper, but it's also, and it is to its core a liberal paper, it's also a paper that cares about whether they spell people's names right, by and large. It's a paper that actually cares about accuracy. Conservatives need to build institutions that mirror those institutions. That's the truth.
Yeah, he's getting booed at CPAC.
The New York Times? You don't think...
Look, here's the point. He gets it. He gets it. Like, look, the New York Times might not... Look, the New York Times is not liberal either. Like, the New York Times has no idea what the fuck they're doing. But, like, just saw those stuff. Look, but he's right. He's right. Look, when he's talking about the New York Times and whatever, like, he knows what he's talking about. The New York Times is essentially, like, they're not a liberal newspaper by any means, but they take the time to verify the names, get the story right, make it appealing, make it this like really heartfelt, emotional, like anecdote or whatever. And he's saying like that's the kind of power you need. Like you can't manipulate any audience without using that. You can't get anybody to listen to you if you can't even get their name right. Like one of the things that I keep telling people is somebody's name is the most important word to them. Maybe it's not, but the point is that your name is one of the most special words that you can have said to you. So getting it right is just the basic of the basics. And he's saying like, if we can just mirror like basic fact checking like that. And again, you don't need to get the whole truth in. You can just take parts of it and just spit up that. And that's what he's saying. He's like, if we can just get enough facts into this to make our point, then suddenly we have like an actual power play here.
The booze.
Jesus,
now, I disagree vehemently with Tucker Carlson's assessment of bias in the New York Times. It is not a liberal paper. His
hey,
point,
he said it too.
The
what do you?
Political right lacks credible journalism is well taken. That video right there, Tucker getting booed at CPAC for having the temerity to say this obvious truth, might as well be his villain origin story.
If you
might as well be his. Oh, thanks. But yeah, no. Like again, this is actually a really good point. Well, hold on. Like I said, Tucker Carlson actually makes a really good point here, which is that like the news organization again does not have to tell you the truth completely, but at least they need to get some of the facts right. And again, this is basically what led him to be the person that he is today. You know, so let's see. What was this? What did I find here? Tucker Carlson, on Monday we showed you, blah, blah, blah. They exploded in rage. Let's see what it says.
They don't wave their hands around and make wild accusations. They don't need to do that. It's enough to say what they know. And if honest people turn out to be wrong about something they have claimed, they'll admit it. They don't double down on false.
I love how this is the top reply for everybody?
Office holders of planning riots on January 6th. It was accusing them of running.
All right, hold on. I don't want to do this out of order.
They
So
made
hold
a
on, let's
mistake,
start
and
here.
that's okay. It's not like they're claiming to be God.
Yep, it's the annoying fucking fox. Yeah, that you can call him that. Sure, that's fine. Again, Tucker Carlson, since the Dominion lawsuit started, we found out that he vehemently hates Trump. That he literally accused him of dragging the entire party down, and does not believe the same things that he's putting on the air. You can also say that for some of the other people that are on Fox News. They know that some of they say is bullshit, but again, when you watch the news, what I want you to understand is it is a billionaire, in this case Murdoch, paying millionaires, in this case Tucker Carlson, to basically tell you what they need, what they want from their propaganda machine. In this case, this is basically just like chick, cut it up in one way and then, put it out. I don't know anybody having to be the only junior. Jesus, look, like it's hilarious what happens to these people, because like, it always takes just one tiny, tiny thing. Does he have a wife? I don't think that's important here.
Liars behave differently.
But if we're being honest, he probably does, and she's probably, I don't want to make any accusations here, but yeah, he's probably married. He's probably married, and she's probably having a wonderful, wonderful time. He says with absolutely no sarcasm in his voice.
Liars are touchy.
God, that was a hard one.
Point at the scary. They're hiding something. That's the whole point of lying, and they're worried you're going to find out what it is. Liars are fragile.
Yes.
Over time, lying makes you weak and afraid. It has the same effect on countries, by the way. We're living through one.
Bro, he's like coming out to us. Is this wonderful? Okay, all right, yeah. Tell me more, man. This is a safe place. You can tell me.
One of those clarifying moments, which actually we're thankful for, where we're learning exactly who the liars are. On Monday, we showed you unreleased.
Yes, he knows. He's not talking about himself. Oh, I thought he was talking about what I was talking about. I thought he was talking about the Dominion lawsuit and how like it finally came out that they themselves are lying. Oh, all right, okay, yeah. Here we go.
From January 6th. That tape proved that three of the most important claims our leaders have made about that day were untrue. Were lies. We were not shocked to discover that. We knew there was a reason that congressional leaders.
So, all right. So basically, I don't know if this is it. Apparently, this is not going to show the footage, but I'll find the one where he shows the footage. So, January 6th, again, we talked about it on this channel before. Riot. It was a riot. It was a revolution. It was an attempted coup, essentially. They just didn't succeed for obvious reasons. Like, it wasn't very well planned. It was kind of, in some ways, a spur of the moment thing. In other ways, a planned thing. We have proven this in court. There are, again, 41,000 hours of footage and lots of it showing that this is basically, a violent insurrection. But Tucker Carlson managed to find enough footage that he managed to clip together of them basically hanging out, taking selfies, chilling. I even talked about this on this channel before, but there's stories of like a certain person. The New York Times actually put this out. There was a story of one person who was a post office worker from Maryland, and he just wanted to show up to a rally for the first time, and he thought this was going to be a cool one. And then he was walking with them, and then suddenly they were like in front of the Capitol building, and he was like, "Where am I?" And then he got in gas, like smoke bomb, tear gassed or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, I can't see." And so suddenly he ended up inside of, this like government building where he shouldn't have been, and he was like, where are the bathrooms? Oh no. And then he went into one of the bathrooms to wash his eyes out, and he's like, and then I didn't mean to go in there, it just kind of happened. I'm not saying that didn't happen. All right. I'm not saying that there weren't some people that were just unfortunate accidents, just kind of slipped in here by accident. I'm not saying that they weren't even stupid and started taking selfies with, like, all these, government offices basically showing their crimes of having, basically broken into a government building and doing all this stuff. What I'm saying is some people wanted a violent insurrection, a literal coup. They wanted to go in there. Their objective was to interrupt a government proceeding which was going to basically certify an election. No, not basically. Which was going to certify an election. And then their goal was to, I don't know, in some cases it was literally to decapitate some members of Congress, which is not great, especially the leaders. But basically they wanted chaos, and they got it. And they loved it. They took selfies, they like took videos of it. They were having a great time. And what he showed is, look at them having a great time. What a bunch of tourists. You don't get to just pick and choose like footage of that. I've seen other people talking about this, and they're like, they never showed the footage of the 9/11 plane taking off. Because that's not the important part. Like, again, it's like if you had footage of someone robbing a store, and then you're like, yeah, but look at all this time that they spent just standing there and, like, looking at all the stuff around. Like, oh my gosh. Like, like, look at them. They're clearly just shopping at the store. And they're like, yeah, fast forward like 5 minutes, you'll see them like jumping over the counter and taking all the cash that they can and running out of there. So anyways, let's see what he's got to say. I keep interrupting him.
Obviously, that's why you hide things. But what was actually surprising, what we can't quite get over even now, is how they responded when they were caught lying. They didn't seem embarrassed.
Again, all I want is for the news part of this channel to get removed, or for the Fox to change to AU, because honestly, like, that's all I need here. If they can do one of those for me, channel's fine. Keep it as is. Do whatever you want. But like, they have to fix this, because I can't keep watching this channel knowing that they lie to me.
They didn't apologize. They weren't even curious to learn more about what actually happened on January 6th. Let's see the tape. No, they didn't want to see it.
So it's either got to say AUX so that we know that they're gonna like blatantly lie, or just take out the news, because like we know it's not news at this point.
They exploded in rage. And then, as liars tend to do, they doubled down. They told the same lies they've been caught telling, but with even greater aggression this time. Shut up, it's midnight, they said,
as
the sun rose behind them.
Well, okay. Look, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with outlandish, reporting. I don't have a problem with them, like, actually throwing out a whole bunch of things. No. It doesn't have to be with my bias. Like, I don't have a problem with, let me put it this way. Alex Jones, who, again, not getting, AP Reuters, pretty good middle ground. I don't think they stole the election. I think a bunch of trolls probably influenced a bunch of stuff. Stealing is a little much. I think it's more like they influenced our social status here. Our culture was basically influenced by a bunch of trolls basically infiltrating Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and all that, and just like throwing it around. Like, no. We know it's true. We've like, there's evidence and everything. Like, some of the top intelligence officials have testified to that effect. I'm not saying it was stolen. I'm just saying that there was a lot of misinformation flying around, and a lot of it came from Russian sources. But what I am really trying to say here is that news only matters as news if you really have, like, you have to believe it's news first, right? Like, they knew it was false, and we're knowing that now because of the Dominion lawsuits, right? Like the Dominion lawsuits literally came out saying that Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity and a bunch of the other people on there were literally having guests on the show and then spouting out like the party line, the propaganda thing that they wanted to, while they themselves did not believe it. Right? Twitter was censoring 22 million tweets a day. Let's just keep playing these games. Let's just pretend that people have not been. No, I'm not saying that they're not shaping it. Everybody's shaping the reality in front of your eyes. But what I'm saying is that if you're going to be news, you need to at least believe the things you say. Like, let's put it this way. CNN, MSNBC, they're also incredibly anti-worker, right? Anytime that I see them reporting on a strike or a union thing, they're always like, oh, you know, like these people, da 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 da, and then they'll somehow find a way to side with companies, right? And I just sit there and I'm like, you can't do that. Like, you can't do that, right? But what I'm saying is, it's not about the look. You're not there. I'm not saying that CNN, MSNBC, Associated Press, all of them lie. What I'm saying is they find the information and they try to put it out as best as they know it to be, right? So like when everybody said that COVID was coming from bats in Wuhan, that is the best of our information. Now there's more intelligence agencies siding with the fact that it could be a lab leak. Both of them are valid, but CNN is not lying to you when they said that the lab leak didn't have a lot of verifiable facts to it, just because they said that years before we found out about it. You know, like they are trying to report to the best of their ability at the time that they get it. Fox literally did not believe the stuff they were putting out. They themselves said that they did not believe what they said. Even Tucker Carlson got caught basically saying that he hates Trump, while at the same time putting on his show that Trump is basically like the new savior of the Republican Party. And he's been literally hating him for years. And again, this all came out in the Dominion lawsuit, which I guess I could go back into at a certain point. But let's keep going. I want to see what happens here.
Who acts like that? Well, sociopaths do. And in this case, the sociopaths turned out to be both Democrats and Republicans. The commitment to...
No, it's not you're a conspiracy theory because you think it comes from a lab. It's... So there's a thing called Occam's razor, right? And Occam's razor basically says that if all these things are happening, then you basically just kind of have to assume that the most likely theory is correct, right? Yeah. Yeah, again, because it was not just for that theory. It was also because they were also spreading a bunch of really, really, really dangerous misinformation. Like, those same people were also putting out all these experimental cures for COVID that would not hold up, right? Like, these are the same people that were also throwing out ivermectin as a cure, which did not work. And we've gotten lots of evidence saying that that didn't work. They were also the same people that were saying that it was like bioengineered. We don't know that, but he was probably going to start like war with somebody. Like, this stuff gets dangerous really fast, right? And especially when you're telling people like treat it this way, do this for that, blah 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 blah. People were in danger. I'm not saying that that makes it okay to ban them. I'm not saying that makes it okay to throw them out, but it did make it okay to start throwing up that little tag saying, hey, this might be COVID misinformation. You should take it with a grain of salt. It gets trickier. That if you take the vaccine, you won't catch the virus, huh? That's just fundamentally misunderstanding how vaccines work. Like, again, when I talk about being a scientist, you have to take the facts that you're given and come to a conclusion based on those facts. Now, from the beginning, and again, I wasn't streaming when this thing started, but from the beginning, when the lab leak theory was floating around, I knew it was plausible, and I think most of us knew it was plausible, but it just didn't make sense to harp on that when the priority should have been, how do we stop it from spreading, not where did it come from? Now that we're several years out, yeah, I'm really interested in where it came from. But the priority then was, how do we stop it from spreading? How do we cure the people that are dying? How do we fix them? Right? So anyways, let's keep going. Let's keep going. I want to get to this January 6th stuff.
Is far deeper and more bipartisan even than we realize when we follow this stuff for a living. Now, you sometimes hear people say that the whole partisan system is an illusion and that underneath the manufactured debates, the leaders on both sides are in fact secretly united in a common love of
Oh my
money
God,
and
this is so
power
hard to watch.
and the deception
Here we go.
required to get them. And honestly, we could never really bring ourselves to
Can I
believe
speed this
that.
up?
It's just too dark. But now we do believe it because we have seen it. Consider the
Okay.
death of police officer Brian Sicknick. Now, we still don't know
Oh my God, is he going to say that they didn't die?
exactly how Officer Sicknick died. We're not certain that anyone does know. No one has explained it. But after reviewing the previously withheld video evidence, we can tell you with certainty that Officer Sicknick was not beaten to death by Trump voters at the Capitol. The tape shows very clearly Brian Sicknick walking through the building in apparent health after the media told us for 2 years that he had been murdered. So they were wrong about that. Okay, they got caught. Here's the interesting thing. They won't admit it. Liz Cheney's tweet is still on Twitter tonight. Officer Sicknick was killed defending our Capitol from the violent mob on January 6th. No correction. Anderson Cooper of CNN still has not apologized. Quote, Officer Brian Sicknick died after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher during the fight, he told us.
Look at this. Look at this. Oh my God. Look, again, in the Dominion lawsuit, let me tell you another thing that happened. Tucker Carlson actually ended up saying that a bunch of dead people voted in the elections. He even in one of the texts said we need more dead people, essentially. And they said like we need more dead people, we need more dead people, dead people, dead people, like we need those dead people. So they got a bunch of names and said that these were all the dead people that voted. And again, this comes back to what we were saying before of how how he was saying like you need names, you need specifics, like it doesn't make sense if you get their name wrong. So he got dead people's names. He said that they were on the register. He said people went out and voted as if they were those dead people, etc., 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 etc. He later had to apologize and correct the fact that those people, some of them, were not dead. Some of them were dead but never voted. And some of them just literally never existed. And he basically had to come out and admit to all that. Again, in this lawsuit, this is all coming out. So right there, he showed a video of a police officer walking through. Just because it is not on video that he died by getting hit in the head with a fire extinguisher doesn't mean that's not the way he died. And again, he's throwing out questions, but he's not throwing out answers.
Those are lies. So why not just admit it and move on?
So like again, like you're saying, wow, walking real well after getting beaten to death. We don't know that that's after. In fact, I would say that's before. That makes a lot more sense than that's after.
They won't. In fact, this week the White House trotted out both the press secretary and Joe Biden's attorney general, the attorney general of the United States.
And again, if we really want to see this, then I want those 41,000 hours being given to everybody, not just Tucker Carlson, who's literally made like he made a 5-second clip of this guy walking and then just said like, cool, like, see, he's fine. He's alive.
To claim not just that Brian Sicknick
He's not alive.
was actually murdered by Republicans at the Capitol, but that other officers were murdered too.
Oh my God, is he going to say none of them died?
The wide range of bipartisan lawmakers, you heard them all yesterday, you guys reported on it, who have condemned this false depiction of the unprecedented violent attack on our Constitution and the rule of law, which cost police officers their lives.
It was a violent attack on a fundamental tenet of American democracy, that power is peacefully transferred from one administration to another. Over 100 officers were assaulted on that day. 5 officers died.
Like literally, it's like he thinks that we don't remember seeing. And again, I'll pull it up. Oh, hold on. Takes 2 seconds to find these videos. Hold on. Don't you go anywhere.
Of course, this is not just
blame at his feet. We're now seeing a change.
the shining city on a hill.
Wait, on. No. This is not what I want. Here, there's somebody put out like an actual video of just Just the video. Yeah, he's getting slammed for this. Hold on. This will take 2 seconds. Look at this.
About what happened that day. Tangle a complex web of planning and
You're
coordination.
telling me that no police got hurt during that. You're telling me that not a single police officer got hurt during. God damn it! Why can't I find the?
So we're going to see some.
Yeah, this is the most peaceful tourist I've ever seen. Oh yeah, no, there's no cops being assaulted here. I am so sorry. I should have known. Look at those cops not being assaulted.
1349 hours declaring it a riot.
See, you guys are mishearing it. He said this is now effectively a party. God. Oh, now I get it. It was such a misunderstanding. Look at them peacefully walking inside. God, that's the most peaceful entry I've ever seen. You know, I know when I like to enter my house, I always break the windows. I don't know about you guys. That's really the only way.
Okay, guys. Apparently, this tip of the spear has entered the Capitol building.
Saying, get out, get out. That's Mitt Romney. He's like, oh, I'm out. You know Mitt Romney was not making it out of this. Like, if they had managed to actually succeed, Mitt Romney was not making it out. Look at these cops definitely not being assaulted here. Look at that. Look at the way they definitely do not assault this police officer. Like, oh my goodness. Look at that. Definitely not being assaulted right here. Oh, wow. And look at that. Look. Oh, wow. Yeah, you know what? This is my mistake. I'm showing one side of this coin. Yeah, so is he. He's showing one side of this coin. That's what I'm saying. When you look at the whole picture, like, you walking into the store does not suddenly erase the part where you break the register and take all the money out. You know, like it's not the point. Like, the point isn't that the other side doesn't exist. Like, the point is, like, here it is. I'll finish the clip. Like, we'll finish the clip, man. But what I'm saying is, like, don't forget, like, this. We saw this. We all watched this happen live. Like, it happened live. We watched it. So let's keep going.
5 officers died on that day. Now, that's just not some guy on Twitter. That's the Attorney General of the United States.
Also, I'm not sure that he said 5 people died that day. I'm pretty sure that they said 5 deaths resulted from this. And I'm pretty sure they said 3 or 2 of them were actually suicides that happened later based on what they saw that day.
That's a man whose honesty is central to his job. If you had a choice between IQ and integrity in an attorney general, of course you would go with integrity because
it's like saying like 5 deaths resulted from this event. It's not that 5 deaths happened that day exactly, but 5 deaths resulted from it.
But Joe Biden's attorney general, Merrick Garland, is a liar. He just lied about something that is provably false. Who are these 5 officers who were, quote, killed that day? Notice he didn't tell you. No one ever tells you. No one ever shows you their autopsies. They don't want any detail. They just want the slogan. Now,
I'll look it up. Again, this is like easily provable. 5 cops killed on Jan 6th. Ashley Babbitt, Kevin D. Greason, Ross Ann Boylan, Benjamin Phillips, Brian D. Sicknick, Jeffrey Smith, Howard S. Livingood. Let's see. These were the insurgents, the rioters that died. These were the police officers, 3 of them. In the days and weeks after the riot, 5 police officers who had served. These are 3 right here. Where are the other 2? See, Brian Sicknick died January 7th after the, attack. Jeffrey Smith killed himself after the attack. Howard Livingood died from suicide. Again, trigger warning. Like, here we go. Kyle died from suicide in July. Oh, Gunther and Kyle. Oh, boy. Yeah, so again, they're not saying 5 people died that day. They're saying 5 people died as a result of that day. Only one of them actually died that day. The other 4 killed themselves thinking about it. Like, that's the sad part here. Like, see, like, look at this. The Capitol Police had previously said that Officer Sicknick died from sustaining injuries while physically engaging with protesters. The Washington Medical Examiner later ruled that he had died of natural causes, multiple strokes that occurred hours after Officer Sicknick's confrontation with the mob. The medical examiner added, however, that all that transpired played a role in his condition. So Brian Sicknick, again, died from basically having been assaulted. Again, the strokes came after, but it was from having been assaulted. And then again, these 2 police officers killed themselves in July. Hold on, can I see this? Yeah. So these 2 died, riot, I'm not paying, New York Times, whatever.
Now, they're counting Brian Sicknick. That's a lie. But who are the other 4? Well, those are 4 officers who killed themselves after January 6th, in some cases long
Okay, so he's saying the same thing I am. He's just really playing this up because, again,
after January 6th. But their suicides, we know for a fact, were the result of the Republican mob at the Capitol. It's just false. And it's not some esoteric fact. That fact is available to anyone who has internet access. No
there we go.
Police officers died.
Yeah, and he also doesn't say how many were injured. That's true.
None. Not one. Some were.
Right, because Brian died the day after from strokes, which, again, were made worse because of the injuries he sustained.
Assaulted, that is true.
I wish I had the $1,000 to bet.
So how many were assaulted? Well, Garland said over 100.
Ah!
The Accountability Office says the number is 114. And we're just going to roll with that. We don't know if it's true, but we'll take it at face value. And that is bad. We are opposed to assaulting police officers.
Hey!
Said that
there we go.
January 6, 2020. Almost say it again. We're against
awesome. He's saying it too.
But
yes.
Is January 6th the worst assault on the U.S. government since the Civil War?
Oh,
That's
no.
insane. It's not even close.
Oh,
How about
no.
March of 1954, when Puerto Rican separatists shot
no, I'm good.
In the Capitol building. 5 members of Congress shot in the building. It's all bad, but the worst since the Civil War, you're just a flat-out liar if you're saying that. More recently, this is an event we all remember, Antifa descended on Washington, D.C. to force the sitting president from office.
Although you can always tip.
So that's cool. And while they were there, they set a historic Christian church on fire, St. John's in Lafayette Square. Do you remember that? You should, because it happened Labor Day weekend less than 3 years ago. And when it happened, the left-wing mayor of Washington, D.C. refused to allow her police department, the MPD, to assist Secret Service agents while they were under siege and getting beaten. No, she made her cops stand back and watch it happen. And they were very upset about it at the time. You may have forgotten that.
Again, this is the same reason why he's going to say that the police officers basically waved them in. He's like, oh, those police officers basically just opened the door and let them in. They didn't break in. At a certain point, you just say, hey, listen, we're just going to minimize the damage. We're going to let, like, certain things happen, but we're just going to keep, like, people alive. Now, let's keep going with this. And again, this is the same thing that he did with the January 6th. He's literally now clipping the worst parts of this riot and then saying, look, this is how the whole riot went. Ooh.
I believe there are several fires raging now down this street, and this is what you hate to see. There are people throwing fireworks and who knows what else.
Ah! Again, like, neither of these are good. You should not be violent against anybody, right? Peaceful protests are the way. That's how you do things. That's how it works. But again, this is what we're talking about. He's cherry picking the worst parts of this riot. He's cherry picking the best parts of the January 6th riot. Like, no one was denying that, like, random tourists got pulled into January 6th, right? What we're saying is there were people with bad intentions. They went there with those bad intentions, and they did bad things with those bad intentions. Like, Ah!
Is just fully engulfed.
Sorry, they were getting shot. It was so funny. Oh! Oh no, not St. John's Church. That's
Floyd
terrible.
riots.
All right,
So
wait, sorry, what's
the
up?
White House. Those are the George Floyd riots. So
Yeah, those
what
were
was this
shit.
whole
Those are
thing?
terrible.
Now, we're not going to guess. We're going to go again right to the government. According to recently released.
So here's the thing. I've never been like super politically active, but I did participate a little bit in some of these. Although what I did really was I need to get from one place to another, and all the traffic was stopped. So I just walked with the rider, and I marched. I said the chants. I did whatever, and then I just got off where I need to get off. I just need to cross the bridge. That's all it took. You know, but it was much easier to take the riot than the cars.
GAO report last month. During those attacks, the 2020 attack on the White House by left-wing mobs who were quoting, Federal Protective Services, the Secret Service, and the Park Police reported that at least 180 officers were injured during the demonstrations, including concussions.
Hey, look at that. They did mention it.
Lacerations, exposure to chemical gas, and severe burning. So, while stipulating that
Oh, wait. He's talking about this one. He's talking about this one.
all riots are bad, because precision matters, facts matter, the truth matters, here's the truth. More cops were injured by Kamala Harris's favorite mob, BLM, at the White House than were injured by Trump voters at the Capitol on January 6th. A lot more. So again, to be clear, both events are bad, but here's the key. We only remember one of them. Why? Because the people in charge of history are liars.
No, we only remember. Oh my God, no. We only remember one of them because only one of them resulted in trying to overturn the elections of the government. Like, it's not. Look, the Black Lives Matter riots were also not great. People also got hurt. That's not okay. Again, when you're trying to make change, it's better to do it peacefully, but you don't always get that choice. But the reason we remember the January 6th riots more than the Black Lives Matter riots, which again, we don't really, because again, lots of people are still talking about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Boom. See, right there. But the point is that it's not about the riot and the violence it caused. It's about why. Like, rioting, look, again, rioting because black people are being systematically murdered by our police department. You know, don't do it violently, do it peacefully, but meh, you know, like meh. It's kind of a meh issue, you know? Like, I'm not gonna get pissed about that. That's pretty fine. I would rather not see people die over it or hurt or anything, but you know, like, you gotta break a few eggs. Trying to overturn an election is not the same thing as protesting like the systematic murder of black people. Like, you know, like we're talking about people whose literal goal was to enter into the Capitol to overturn the elections of the leader of government. Okay. Some of them planned on kidnapping certain members of Congress and doing terrible things to them, some of which is murder, some of which was, you know, maybe torture to some extent. But the point is, like, nobody was getting out scot-free. They were planning this. And not only is the problem that, like, that was the intention, the problem is that it was also planned. Some people planned on doing this. All right? So the problem here isn't that the police officers got hurt. It was the intention behind the hurting. Like here, yes, police officers got injured, but the intention was not to go out and beat police officers. The intention was to go out and demonstrate your dissatisfaction with the systematic murder of black people by police officers in this country. The January 6th riots were basically just a bunch of like pissed off losers saying, I don't like the election results, so I'm going to go in there and kill them until I get the results I want. Or hold them hostage. Look, some people were more extreme than others. But like this is why it gets wild. Like And again, look, here's decoding Fox News. Literally top comment here. I don't know why, but like,
from those riots like
here we
cowards.
go.
In the case of Senator, the committee wasn't accusing Republican office holders of planning riots on January 6th. It was accusing them of running away from those riots like cowards.
Yeah, Josh Hawley hauled ass.
In the case of Senator Josh Hawley
Yeah.
of Missouri, the committee and their allies accused him of both.
Josh Hawley is a
To prove that Josh Hawley was a coward, the committee released video of him loping out of the building on the afternoon of January 6th with a police escort.
Again, look, I don't actually blame him for this. Get the fuck out of there. Like, it's like, this is a dangerous situation. Get out. Now, is it a dangerous situation that you riled up? Yeah. But like, they're not going to tell the difference between you and these other suits. Like, come on.
The tape became a...
Yeah, again, like, but again, that the people that thought they were just going to go home and like relax and do whatever were probably the people that just wanted to be part of a protest. They just wanted to walk, do the thing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure that there were some of those people there. But the point is that mob mentality took over, violence took over, and some people did some shit that they'd probably regret. Like some really serious mistakes, you know? It's like that thing, like, if you're at a bar, you get into a bar fight, you're like, oh, this is like such a cool moment. I'm just gonna boom, boom, boom. And like it seems like a movie moment almost. Like, this is so cool. But I was watching this video on like murderers, basically, and this kid said, yeah, I was like 18. It was another country. I was 18. I got into a bar fight. I punched this guy. He went backwards, died instantly. He's like, I went to jail for murder. Da 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 da. Permanent consequence to something that like we see in movies all the time and happens in like shitty bars all the time. But, you know, this is what happens. Like, you have to pay for the consequences of your actions. And in this case, the consequences of your actions are, well, jail time, serious jail time, treason charges. Like, look, we can go back and forth on who died, exactly how, when, where, whatever. But in the end, the problem here is the intention behind it. The intention was to get in here, stop the election results from happening, put in your own leader, and possibly exterminate anybody who got in your way. Or at the very least, hold them hostage and torture them.
Staple on social media. Democrats laughed with derision.
Later that day, Senator Hawley fled after those protesters he helped to rile up stormed the Capitol. See for yourself.
Sorry, there's something about a room full of just like random people just laughing at this
But
guy.
in fact, the surveillance footage we reviewed shows that famous clip was a sham, edited deceptively by the January 6th committee. The clip was propaganda, not evidence. The
So what?
actual videotape shows that Hawley was one of many lawmakers being ushered out of the building by Capitol Hill police officers. And in fact, Hawley was at the...
Again, they're not saying that he wasn't also accompanied by other senators. They're saying that he literally riled up this base and then ran. Like, what we're saying is that these are the people that he supported. He even gave them like a little, like, you know, fist bump kind of in the air, like a woo, woo, let's do this kind of motion, and then ended up in this situation, right? Like, that's the problem here. The problem isn't that he was the only one running. We knew everybody else was running. In fact, the problem here is he seems to be slower than these octogenarians over here.
back of the pack. The coward tape was a lie.
Tucker Carlson calling anybody a propagandist is hilarious. So this is the actual clip with context, and you'll see that they didn't cut anything out.
Hawley fled after those protesters he helped to rile up stormed the Capitol. See for yourself.
So she shows the clip, and she shows it again. Now, this is the part that Tucker Carlson did not include. Oh, look, there's more people now, isn't there? A whole group of people running. And that's Josh Hawley. So Tucker just did exactly what he said they did. He creatively edited the footage.
Boom. Easy. Easy win. There. Look, again, we have 41,000 hours of footage. Tucker Carlson is going through, he's finding the best 10 minutes, 15 minutes that he can find of people basically just walking around and taking pictures and being like, you know, all cutesy dootsy in the Capitol and being like, see, they never did this. This shit never happened. This is clearly not a police officer in distress. Basically realizing that once he loses, that's it for democracy.
We can defend. We gotta hold what we have. Take your pens off.
Yeah. The fuck?
Take your pens off.
Like, what is this? What is this? Again, this is clearly just people peacefully walking around and taking selfies in the Capitol. That's obviously the only thing that happened that day and not any of this. So, look, the point here isn't to now suddenly say, look, CNN lied by never showing you the peaceful parts of this protest. They're not the point of the protest, right? Like, they're not the point of this, right? Like, you can't. Sorry, the more I think about this, the more ridiculous it gets. But, like, the point here is, like, I do this stream once a week. I get about 3 hours to talk about whatever it is I want to talk about, and then I'll cut it short, right? If you follow, subscribe, you'll see that. You'll see it pop up every now and then. You'll also see my self-care things. I don't have the time to sit here and go through all of the news of the week. I got to pick just the best parts, all right? That's why today's China, Carlson, and budgets, right? And honestly, we did budgets so fast that we're probably going to get a chance to do something else. But the point is that we only get like as much time as we get. So I'm not going to waste my time showing you how peaceful this, you know, bank robber is standing in line waiting for his turn at the register before he pulls the gun out and starts saying like, listen, lady, like, put the money in the bag, you know, because that's not the important part of the story. So Tucker Carlson was like, hey, listen, look, they never showed you this, which is all the peaceful moments of this riot and blah, 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 blah. They just don't care about it because it's not important. Like, it's not important to see, again, like the 9/11 is like a perfect example. Nobody has a video of 9/11 plane taking off. Nobody has a video of Muhammad piloting the plane, right? Muhammad was not in the age of, you know, like the smartphone. He did not have a chance to take a selfie as he flew into the World Trade Center, right? Just not a possibility for him. So we don't have any of those peaceful moments of Muhammad waiting in the TSA line or sneaking in as a pilot or whatever the fuck it is he did. And like, we don't have any of that shit, right? And the reason we don't have that is because that's not the important part. The important part is that the building is gone and there's a fire on the 86th floor or whatever it was. Like, this is ridiculous. This is honestly a ridiculous thing, and I literally, the reason why there's dots in this title is because I can't believe that we have to talk about this again. I talked about it on the anniversary of it. I'm talking about it again. Like, come on. So, look, I agree that not everybody has like a clean slate. Democrats also have their own problems. I get pissed at Democrats all the time for not being aggressive enough and like actually working to, you know, do the things they say they're going to do. I get pissed at Republicans for just outright lying. But like, it doesn't have to be this way. Like, this is ridiculous. You know, this is just, and again, this is just causing a controversy where there doesn't need to be one. We could all just agree that people should not be storming government buildings with the goals of overturning election results at any time. That's insurrection. All right. If you just stand outside, I don't blame you. You can do that. You can do as much of standing outside as you want. But once you enter into the building, once you have this plan and you're enacting it, no, that's insurrection. That's like literally the founding fathers would have like hung people for that shit. Anyways, we don't have to keep going through this. Oh my god, is this the timeline? Hold on. Actually, we'll end this talking about this with this because this is a good Wait to sum this up. What is this? So again, this is an 8-minute video. There's 41,000 hours of footage. They're not going to pick the 8 minutes of them walking around all peaceful, like trying to trot up to the Capitol or open the window or whatever.
The thing I would say, Lester, is, as we try to figure out, well, it looks now like the
police are
Capitol,
retreating.
Police have
Yeah,
been
Pete, let me
unable to
break
hold
away
these
from you
people
a
back.
second because
That guy stands up there waving his flag all proud and
things
shit.
are happening very quickly.
The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens.
Again, I would say it's probably red pill shit that did this to you more than anything, but like, it's fine. Like, again, we're going to talk about this more on the like self-care stream, but there's like all this stuff about toxic masculinity going around, and like sometimes we like indulge the worst part of ourselves. And Trump, in a lot of ways, was the country basically saying like, we want to be the worst that we can be, and we want to be free to do that. I want to have the freedom to be a raging racist. And like, sure, I'm not going to outright say it, but like, literally the first thing he did when he got in was he made like the Muslim ban, right? And then immediately everyone was like, you can't just ban Muslims. And then COVID came around and they're like, all right, fine, I guess you can ban Muslims.
They no longer have been able to keep them back.
Okay, all right, yeah, show me the timeline. Yes, so this is the beginning. Everybody comes out. Look, here, this is normal. This is fine. No problems. No problems for me at all.
Right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Down the mall, President Trump airing his grievances in front of his supporters at a rally nearby, and he was warning vengeance for Republicans who did not take his side in objecting to these results.
So again, so far, fine. A little sketchy, because again, like, it's kind of weird to have like a big rally and then just kind of say like, they'll rue the day that they mess with me. Like, that's villain shit, but like, fine, be you. Like, I don't mind. I indulge my villain side every now and then. I'll get a little crazy. I'll get a little evil. But like, maybe not a great idea to just sit there and publicly say like, they'll rue the day when they, cross me.
On Capitol Hill, a joint session of Congress has broken into House and Senate chambers as they debate objections that arose from GOP lawmakers over the electoral results from Arizona. There's some protests happening down outside the Capitol. They appear to be Trump supporters who are frustrated with the outcome and are trying to breach some of that, those security perimeters around the Capitol.
Look at them peacefully walking up this, way. Look at how peaceful this is while they storm in there and press up against police officers and break this window. Look at how peacefully they smash these windows, guys. That is clearly the face of a very, very peaceful entry.
We'll stand in recess until the call of the chair.
We'll pause.
Protesters are in the building.
We have visual evidence.
Protesters are in the building. They're like, get out now.
Building, around the security, and are gathering around the area where the Senate was in session.
We were just told that there has been tear gas in the rotunda.
Members of the legislature were informed that they should don their gas masks.
Let's get gas masks that are under our seats.
Senators have been evacuated.
There are gunshots inside the Capitol.
I think it's the most shocking failure of security imaginable to place the Congress of the United States at physical risk in an occupied congressional chamber because
Look at that, General Barry McCaffrey.
they weren't prepared to deal with it.
There is a disturbing image at this moment of Capitol Hill police bringing out a victim who is bloodied from the Capitol.
And it's Ashley Babbitt who got shot.
A heartbreaking day.
Just walking in.
And
Well, you know what? Just walking in is really what I should say, because if I remember right, she was like halfway through a window while a police officer was barricading the door, yelling, "Stop or I'll shoot."
needs to stop, and the president needs to be the first to help make it stop. What the hell was...
See, look at them peacefully taking selfies inside of this chamber that should be currently occupied by government members enacting, the results of an election. What? Like, look at them. Look at how peaceful they are. Guys.
Secured the Capitol.
What am I watching?
From the president, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful.
First of all, are you and your colleagues safe right now?
Yeah, everybody's safe. I don't want to give my location, but I'll tell you,
obviously,
this is madness, and anybody that calls themselves a Republican like myself should be very ashamed right now.
Right over here, you can actually see right here. He's like, anybody that calls themselves a Republican should be ashamed, including myself. Even knew it. Oh man. Well, you gotta admit, like when they take ownership, like I'm fine with that. Like take ownership of what you've done. Like again, I've talked about on this channel a lot. The United States is the #1 gun manufacturer. We're the gun salesmen of the world. We're a gun cartel, essentially. So, when I see Republicans basically trying to up the military budget, trying to sell more weapons to Ukraine and shit like that, that is a man that knows his business. They are trying to, again, do their business. This is nice. It's nice to see them like understanding themselves, kind of seeing themselves for who they are. So let's keep going.
Of vehicles from the Metropolitan Police Department. So this is not Capitol Police. This is not National Guard. This is District of Columbia Police. They came in their riot gear and entered the Capitol. We have seen others.
So the D.C. mayor came instead of the National Guard?
From the National Guard and other law enforcement agencies.
Oh, no. The National Guard also came.
We also have seen some snipers.
We are hours into a siege on the Capitol building of the United States of America, and we have not seen the President of the United States.
Look at all these people being peaceful and clearly taking pictures and being tourists while having just broken in. Like this is the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Look, I can think of no greater failure by a commander-in-chief than to allow this kind of disturbance to continue and not.
Yeah, I see. Like that guy who was pushing him, he was basically saying like, "Hey man, why don't you just leave? You don't need to be here. You're gonna get killed."
Stop it.
Stormed the Capitol building. They are marching through now.
An improvised explosive device has been found at the Capitol.
They found a pipe bomb at the Capitol. I forgot about that part.
It did not detonate. The federal agents have it, and it has not harmed anyone. An explosive device has been located at the headquarters of the Republican National Committee. That explosive device was real, was detonated by a bomb squad, and harmed no one.
This is
all right. So see, here's the other thing that really gets me about this. You'll hear conservatives and like a lot of the like more radical right kind of people talking about how, this was clearly Antifa. Antifa snuck in there and they framed us to make us look bad and shit. No. What it is just basic human nature. You have a bunch of people all gathered together, right? And they're all gathered by the same message, the same ideology, which is basically that the government is lying to you. They have cheated you. And this is your democracy at stake. Now, that is a powerful message. All right. And these people genuinely believe it. Okay. And I am not saying that the government does not have its problems. I'm not saying that they have not lied and cheated to you because, again, they have. But in this case, right, like, you got to have this moment where you, like, have to just think about this critically for a second. You have all these people that have been told in a group setting, the government is lying, they have cheated you, and democracy is at stake. Then you tell them, march on the Capitol. Okay, cool. But now you've got all these people, and some of them have been told that this is like a life or death situation. They've been hearing that repeatedly for months now because, again, your propaganda news network is now basically spitting out this now, again, Dominion lawsuit, shown to be a proven lie about the voting systems being cheated, about election results being manipulated, about all this stuff. And these people are going in there with a militant mindset, going in there fueled by the idea that their government is lying, betraying, and cheating them. And then you suddenly say, oh, well, clearly the violent ones were not, our people. Clearly those were, Antifa, who, has not supported us at all. And, da 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 da. Like, the shit is just wild.
Really been pouring gasoline on a fire.
Like, it's clearly, like, again, it's the easiest conclusion that is usually correct. Not always, but usually. So when I say that, like, COVID came from bats in Wuhan, that's, again, the easiest solution. Could it also have come from a lab? Yeah. And if you show me more evidence on it, then I'm going to say it came from a lab. And again, it might have come from a lab. I don't know. But the point is that the easiest evidence here shows that there were violent, militant people on January 6th. They were there, they attacked, and they brought weapons. Bats, you mean lab? Again, I don't know. Yeah, I think I did mean lab. Sorry. But yeah, the point is, like, if it came from a lab, it came from a lab. But, like, I need to see the evidence. I need to see I need to know what lab it was, who slipped up. I don't need to know who slipped up, but I do need to know what the slip up was, and I need to know what they were making. Because clearly this is, like, if it was like a lab thing, they had already found this virus and they were trying to see how to fix it and how to cure it, or they were, like, manipulating this virus to basically make it in a certain way. And that causes a whole bunch of, like, really, really dangerous situations. Because one, if they are creating viruses, that's terrifying. But two, if they're not safe enough to keep them contained and can infect their own population, they don't have enough safety measures to control the things that they're making, and it's only a matter of time before they make something terrifying. Yes. I'm saying how media has shifted to saying the lab thing, but again, it's about the evidence. Before, there wasn't enough evidence to say that. Now there is more evidence, not enough evidence. But again, if we were to really get that evidence, we'd either have to get China to, like, specifically send us over all the information on this, or we would have to physically go there and find it ourselves, which China is not being very friendly about. As we talked about earlier in this podcast.
And we need to push back on this, not only on the rhetoric, but also on those extremist groups that are capitalizing on it.
I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward. I call on
He's like, I won, guys.
To go on
just let me win.
Now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution.
Exactly.
And demand an end to this siege.
What has happened today?
Like, let's put it this way. China's not saying it's coming from their lab. Like, they wouldn't say that publicly. They wouldn't say that privately. They're not saying it to anybody, because if it did come from a Chinese lab, there is no benefit to China in admitting it. So, we're never really going to know unless we go there and find out ourselves. And they're not welcoming that at all. Anyways, look, I think we get the point here. The point is, like, you can't just pick and choose little clips and then say, this is what happened, right? Tucker Carlson had a really fun time editing that video. I'm sure he had a great time publishing it and doing all that shit. But the truth of the matter is, it's still what it is, like, you can't just suddenly, oh God, oh no. Yeah, no, you can't just, pick and choose, clip your own favorite parts and then make your own story, right? There's 41,000 hours of video showing, exactly what happened at the riot. Some of it will be peaceful, but the crime still occurred and you can still see what happened. Say China did it and Twitch dies. Really? God, that'd be so funny. I mean, it might be possible because honestly, every time I kind of mention it, I get region blocked a little bit, which just means like there's certain areas where I can't publish things because of all this. Okay, cool. So I'm not gonna get into the whole Elon Musk thing. Elon Musk did a really shitty, terrible thing recently. I don't like it. It was gross. But we did say we'd take a little bit of a slightly lighter tone here. So real quick, we're gonna check out one of the scariest parts of one of the scariest parts of modern life. God, I love this stuff. Oh my God, President's debate. Hold on. No, hold on. I want something a little better. What is this? Can I do this by? Hold on. Yeah, what is the Call of Duty tier list?
All right, unless you guys have any objections, I'm putting COD 4 in S tier.
No objections.
Yep.
Then.
COD 4 is
What about
definitely
World
S
at
tier.
War, boys?
I think I'd give it S tier based on the introduction of zombies alone.
You're too generous with your S tier rankings, Joe. All Treyarch did was piggyback off the hard work that Infinity Ward put into COD 4.
Absolutely.
Zombies was sick, but it felt like a COD 4 reskin.
I'm kind of with Donald on this one, Joe.
You guys said you'd be free last night, and then you all went offline at the same moment. Do you guys not have any respect for me and my time?
This is so awkward.
Holy shit, that was so cringe.
That was so awkward. Why didn't any of you guys talk?
Well, I thought that one of you guys was going to say something.
I'm always the one who gives her an excuse.
Guys, she's messaging me. What do I do?
You can't be serious. Does she not get the hint?
Ignore her.
I love this. I love this so much. I love this so much. So yeah, AI has gotten to the point where we can literally make videos of, anybody. Basically, there was actually a Black Mirror episode on this. Black Mirror being a show on Netflix. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone, but talks about like how technology is basically leading us to a dystopia. So what happened here is that, and in the Black Mirror episode, is that AI can basically listen and listen and listen, or read and read and read and read, and then it can basically regurgitate what it hears, and it can piece it together in a way that makes it sound natural. So here they've deep faked presidents chatting, specifically about Call of Duty.
Her Donnie just appear offline.
Have you? Oh God. Oh, the finish. Like sometimes I'm like, we might have been the first democracy, but we are the slowest democracy, and we're not the first democracy either. But America's always got that claim to fame of being like, we're the best, we're the incredible, we're the whatever. We're so behind. Like we should have been making AI vids of the presidents for years. I can't believe it took us this long.
We got to move on, boys.
So annoying.
How do we feel about the OG Modern Warfare 2?
S tier easily. It had a great campaign. Spec Ops was sick.
All the Modern Warfare was sick.
Office is peak nostalgia.
Facts.
The multiplayer exploits like the Noob Tube and Infinite Care package knocks
Yeah.
it down to A tier, though.
Come
Never a
on.
problem for us at the time. If anyone in
That was
our
so much
lobby
fun.
pulled that shit, we IP banned them from the entire internet.
I missed
Ho,
those
ho,
days.
ho.
All right, on to Black Ops, boys. Are we thinking A tier or S tier?
S tier easily.
I agree with Donald. Zombies campaign and multiplayer were all pretty much perfect at the time.
I think we're all on the same page there. What about Modern Warfare 3?
It was a serviceable entry, nothing too special though, so I'd personally give it B tier.
You're not critical enough, Joe. It was fundamentally worse than Modern Warfare 2 in
God, I love these. Can we see what's the most viewed one? I don't think I've seen the most viewed one. VTubers? Oh my God, I actually do kind of want to see that. Hold on. All right, hold on. So we're just gonna spend a little bit of time here, just trying to see. It's getting harder to spot a deepfake. Yeah, I bet. Okay, what's this?
You did. It sounds like Darth Vader's taking the fattest shit in the next room. About time. Anyways, I'm on Minecraft, and of course it gave me a fucking desert seed.
Is it this one?
Is it what? You don't know what version of Minecraft you have?
This is so fucking great. I love this.
I don't see why, but here, have a look. It's brand new.
Holy shit, Joe. How in the fuck? Update your game right now. Jesus Christ. All right, well, let me know when you're in. Holy shit.
I've seen this one before. I want to find one that I haven't seen and that's still really good. Zomboys Zelda tier list. Oh God, I do actually kind of want to see the Zelda tier list. Mario Party. Is Mario Party better? I'll do the Zelda tier list. Let's do the Zelda tier list. And then we'll move on to the news.
You two have been arguing about Zelda 2 for 30 minutes. Let's just drop it in B tier and call it a day.
Yeah, fine, whatever. Let's move on to a game that actually matters. Sleepy Joe can enjoy being the only person in America that likes Zelda 2.
Shut the hell up, Donald. It has enough fans that it has a randomizer.
Yeah, keep telling yourself
yeah,
that, buddy.
got it.
Guys, quit bickering already. It's going in B tier, and that's that.
Fine, but I'm
Okay.
not happy about it.
All right, moving on to A Link to the Past. Honestly,
Ooh,
I
A
think
Link
this
to the
is an
Past.
easy C tier, B tier at best.
C tier. Have you finally lost your damn mind, Barack?
Yeah.
A Link to the Past is the quintessential 2D Zelda game.
Oh boy, here we go with Joe defending another old piece of crap. I'm surprised your geriatric ass can stay awake for longer than 5 minutes playing this game.
Fuck you, Donald. This game is a classic. The Dark World is one of the most iconic locations in all of Zelda.
The Dark World theme is pretty
Like,
lit.
who
but
took
have
the
you
time
looked
to
at the
make
Link
these?
sprite lately? I mean, what the hell was going on there?
Shut up, man. You're just jealous because Link is dripped the hell out.
Dripped out? Are you listening to yourself, bro? The red tunic looks like a clown took a shit all over it.
Actually, it's called the Red Mail, dumbass.
No fucking way did you just actually me. Is your defense of this game that flimsy, you dipshit?
That was pretty cringe, Joe.
Fuck you, Barack. A Link to the Past has incredible
you,
dungeons,
Barack.
great music, introduced the iconic Master Sword, and it even has cool, unique magic spells.
Great music, my ass.
He's right about the Master Sword. The Master Sword did come out in this. But God, I love these. So yeah, at this point, AI is basically indistinguishable. We're not gonna find the porn of the Finnish Prime Minister. That's not what we're here to do. But there were actually two really cool Black Mirror things that happened similar to this. There was one where someone got deep faked into, basically like porn and stuff, which is already happening apparently. And there was another one where what they did was there was a service that could bring the dead back to life. And what they would do is they would basically track all the things that you wrote, all the things that you ever sent to somebody, and like social media, text messages, stuff like that. They'd like take photos and videos and shit of you, and then they would make an AI person based on like the personality profile that you'd essentially created by using their social media. So it would like the things you liked. It would say the things you said to the people that you said them to. And it was basically like a perfect replica of the person that had died. And eventually we're going to get to that point. I mean, we're already at the point where they can like basically make them move and talk and all this stuff.
Yes, I just love listening to the same two mind-numbing songs for every single dungeon in the game.
You're full of shit, Donald. The dungeon themes are litty on a stack, and you cannot deny the Dark World theme is a top 5 Zelda song.
I might give you that one, but the gameplay makes me wish I never picked up a controller in my life.
Skill issue.
Guys, this is going nowhere. I'm fine with putting it in B tier. The Bombos medallion is pretty sick after all.
Yeah, you would say that.
Yep,
whatever, that's fine.
I cannot fucking believe A Link to the Past is going this low, but whatever.
All right, next is Ocarina of Time. I think this is a pretty
S tier.
Nobody can
Clear
deny that.
S tier.
S tier? Really?
S tier.
Has our
No
society
way.
degraded so much that this is what makes it in S tier these days?
Don't you
I won't
fucking-
deny that OOT is much better than A Link to the Past.
Yeah, it's S
should be
tier.
reserved for actual masterpieces.
Like
What the
S,
hell,
like
Donald?
the
How is
Ocarina of
OOT not a
Time.
masterpiece?
Just put it in S tier, Barack. Don't give him
It's
a chance.
S
He'll knock
tier.
your
It's
fucking ear
S
off.
tier.
Joe, I'll tell you exactly how Barack. This game may have been good when it first came out, but these days, it's just a big, empty, boring world.
L.
Hyrule Field is fucking empty.
L.
All the dungeons are easy as fuck.
L take.
And this shut the fuck up, Joe.
I don't get how you can
Ow.
sell so much for
Ow,
MM, but
ow,
you call
ow.
this game empty and easy. This game has 9 great dungeons, and the bottom of the well and Gerudo Fortress could be considered mini dungeons on their own.
Gerudo
Yeah.
Fortress, I'll give you bottom of the well, but how the hell is Gerudo Fortress a mini dungeon?
Did your old
That's
ass
fair.
forget about Gerudo Training Grounds or something?
Gerudo Training Grounds is pretty fun.
Yeah, fun if you like torturing yourself. Are you seriously going to defend GTG when it has that dog shit toilet room? Besides, it's optional, so how the hell is it comparable to bottom of the well?
This is
Whatever, hater,
S
you
tier.
just like
This is
the niche
S tier,
titles
man.
Like Minish Cap and Majora's Mask. You're such a fucking contrarian, I swear to God.
Shut the fuck up, Sleepy Joe. It's still better than A Link to the Past and Zelda 2.
And by the way, you're totally right. You do need video. But if you get video, like like video can be faked. At this point, almost everything can be faked. One of my favorite deep fakes, actually. We'll cut this off here. I love this shit. It's great, but like, hold on, what?
Hey, Obama, you ever watch VTubers? It's the new buzz, bozo. VTubing allows for
You guys
an artist
talking about
vision
that live anime boing boing?
You might think that because that's
God damn it, Joe. God damn it, Joe. All right, we'll take a look at that later. But yeah, one of the deep fakes that I actually really loved that came out a while back was this one. This one came out 4 years ago.
We're
So like,
entering an
you
era
know,
in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time, even if they would never say those things. So, for instance, they could have me say things like, I don't know, Killmonger was right.
Killmonger was right.
Ben Carson is in the sunken place. Or,
Ben Carson is in the sunken place.
President Trump is a total and complete dipshit. Now, you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but
what?
Someone else would.
Who would? Who could?
Like Jordan Peele.
What?
This is a dangerous time. Moving forward,
God,
we need to be
moved his
more
head
vigilant with
so
what we trust from the internet. That's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources. It may sound basic, but how we move forward in the age of information
This is great.
going to be the difference between whether we survive or whether we become some kind of fucked up dystopia. Thank you.
Yeah, I see that.
Stay woke, bitches.
Yeah, what? I'll let that in. Why is that? Why is the auto mod saying that that's a bad thing? Is that some kind of racist thing that I just did not realize that? What? It's a hate symbol. Is it really? It's a white nationalist code for neo-Nazis. Okay, interesting. But yeah, no, this is like I said, this is the kind of shit that this is the kind of shit that I'm talking about. AIs can do almost anything they want. They can do it whenever they want, and they will do it whenever they want. So, let's see. We already talked about basically everything I wanted to talk about. What is this? Oh, this was the last thing I wanted to talk about with the...
You did warn about this in a way that was both
Here we go.
humorous, culture can teach us things in biting, but also was
Well,
quite
Franken?
serious.
Really?
And so on this
serious,
one,
yeah.
I'm sure, I can't read your mind, but
By the way, I think he's a Democrat, but I'm pretty sure that he resigned from his post. And it's funny because when Democrats do something wrong, they resign. When Republicans do something wrong, they just kind of deny. So just something interesting to keep in mind. All right. But let's keep going.
I'm sure you and I and many honest Americans would prefer that your warnings were overheated, that they didn't turn out this way. That would be a better outcome. But in fact, you were right to warn about how propaganda mixes with a type of attack on democracy. What do you see here now tonight?
Well, in the book, Lies and Lying Liars, tell them a fair and balanced look at the right.
Yeah, it's gonna keep doing it because the auto mod knows. The auto mod knows that that's a hate symbol. I didn't know about that. That's wild. Thank you for teaching me something I didn't know.
At the time, this is 20 years.
But also, yeah, finding out what that means was actually really, really hard to stomach. Because, like, again, hold on. Let's actually see what it means. Hate symbols database on the ADFL is a combination of two popular white supremacist numerical symbols. The first symbol is 14, which is shorthand for the 14-word slogan, which is "We must secure the existence of our people and the future for..." God, if I say this, is it going to flag me for hate speech? Maybe. And the second is 88, which stands for Heil Hitler, H being the 8th letter of the alphabet. So yeah, that's what 1488 means. Apparently people get that shit literally everywhere, which is some wild shit. That is a very creative way to do it. Somebody got it with dice. Wow. That's wild. Well, even price racist merchandise such as t-shirts or compact discs for 1488. That's wild. That is insane. So yeah, I didn't know that was a hate thing. I'm glad that you have taught it to me. Not because I'm going to use it, but because, it's good to know these things. Like, it's good to expand your knowledge on them. All right, so anyways.
People wouldn't call each other liars. So I had to prove that they were lying And I did this at with some students at Harvard, and we did our research. And I would have them say something and then show that it was a lie and have them understand that it was a lie and then continue to lie afterwards.
Yeah, that's always the fun part about dealing with Republicans is that you will tell them, this is what you said, and they'll say yes. And then you'll say, all right, now you said this, but this is you saying the exact opposite. And they're like, oh, yeah, that is that. So this is a lie. And they're like, okay, yeah, I suppose it's a lie. And then they're like, all right, cool. And then they'll just continue lying anyways. It's like that. Have you guys seen that meme with SpongeBob um, and it's that meme with like SpongeBob and what is it? Like King Neptune or something, or I don't remember exactly what it is, but he's sitting there and he's talking to Patrick and he's like, Patrick, you dropped your wallet. It's Mermaid Man. No, it's I'm just gonna find the meme, guys. Like I don't know why I'm doing this with you guys. Meme Patrick and Patrick Star and something or other. It'll pop up. Here it is. It's this meme. Oh my god. This one, the not my wallet meme. So it's basically like they're sitting there like, so this is you saying this, and they're like, yeah, and this is you saying the opposite, yeah. So technically it's a lie. Makes sense to me. So da 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 da, and they're like, no 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 no. And that's literally what talking to Republicans is like, and it's wild sometimes. It'll be like, all right, hold on, here's a good example. So it'll be like, you know, January 6th was here's you saying that January 6th was violent and police officers got hurt. And they're like, yep, that's me saying that. And they're like, and then here's you saying that it's peaceful. And they're like, yep, that's me saying that. So those two cannot exist together unless one of them is a lie. And he says, yep, that is what it is. And they're like, so you're telling me that, you know, this was clearly a violent insurrection and they deserve to get punished. And they're like, no, 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 no. They were all peaceful tourists. So that's what that's like. So anyways, hold on. Let's keep going with this.
And they didn't like that. They sued me. They sued me for the subtitle. They didn't sue me saying that I was falsely saying they were lying. They knew they were lying, but the subtitle of the book was A Fair and Balanced Look at the Right. Lies, Lying Liars, A Fair and Balanced Look at the Right. And so they sued me on a copyright infringement. And and then what Bill O'Reilly was the one who insisted on the suit, but what O'Reilly
How does that work?
understand is that satire is protected speech, even if the object of the satire doesn't get it.
Well put. And their wider goal,
yeah.
as is often the case, was hoping to attack, chill, complicate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, most of Fox News is a paid show. Like, again, and I want you to keep this in mind for every news network. Every news network is made up of billionaires that pay millionaires to tell you that the problem isn't A, it's B. Okay, so Fox News does this excellently, which is Murdoch sends down his orders, then Fox News and a fuck ton of local media. Murdoch owns like most of your local news networks. And they will all push the same narrative together because, again, the narrative isn't like, hey, rich people are basically abusing the system to make themselves wealthier and get the most amount of profit for the least amount of expenses. The narrative is, hey, listen, that immigrant's taking your job because, you know, clearly you're the one that wanted to work for $7 an hour picking strawberries under the sun. You know, like it's literally like and by the way, like you don't have to look like very deep into this, right? Like this is very surface level stuff. He's literally using some very basic propaganda stuff, like scapegoating, basic propaganda stuff, throwing down random anecdotes and like editing videos to make it look like things are slightly better here or there. Classic propaganda stuff. All right. So like it's not hard. All right. And even like, and look, I don't think Murdoch hates America because he's doing the same thing in England too. He's doing the same thing globally. Murdoch found out what is the most powerful you can become, what's the most influence you can exert without actually having to be elected or put your face on it. And he did it. And that's his media empire. That's his gift to the world, is him basically creating a like propaganda system for some of the most hateful rhetoric that you can imagine, right? And part of it is because there is power in scapegoating. There's power in doing stuff like that. Like, if you can convince people that to rally behind you to face a common enemy, like, there's power in that. And they're reaching out to people on a level that they like kind of, relate to. Like, they're saying, you don't make enough. You're stuck in poverty. And it's all the Democrats' fault, the immigrants' fault, the trans people's faults, the gay people's faults, and they'll find like a huge list of people to accuse about this. Like, let me put it this way: there's a quick little video. I haven't shown it on this channel, but it's Jon Stewart. I don't know if I'll get copyrighted for it. It's Apple TV Plus, but Jon Stewart sits down with an Oklahoma lawmaker who is essentially planning on deregulating all guns, also banning drag shows, the Republican spiel. And he sits there and he looks at him and he's like, all right, so I've looked into it and kids aren't dying from drag shows. They're dying from, you might not believe this, but it's guns. Guns are the number one cause of death for children in America. See you, General. Thanks for stopping by. But the point is, like, guns are the number one deaths, right? But clearly it's the immigrants, clearly it's the trans, clearly it's the gays, clearly it's the Muslims. Like, they'll find anybody that they think that they could, focus in on and get your hate towards, and then they'll target that person. And then that way you forget that the number one cause of crime is income inequality. All right. So basically, it's easier to put people in prison than it is to fix the actual problem, right? Then you'll forget that your boss and many people's bosses has been stealing from them. There's about $50 billion of wage theft a year, I think. Somebody might have to quote me on that number, but wage theft is literally like, I think I need to do an episode where I describe wage theft. But wage theft is essentially you show up to work, you are a salaried employee, so you get your bi-weekly paycheck, bi-monthly paycheck, whatever you want to call it, and you get paid to show up to work. But then your boss says, hey, listen, I really need this project by tomorrow. Do you think you could stay like, an hour or two late? And you're like, oh, yeah, sure, I guess fine, yeah. And then they do that again and again and again and again. And you're not getting overtime. You're just being forced to sit down and do more of your work. So now you're starting to take it home with you, and you're starting to do this on the weekends. You're starting to do this late at night. Now suddenly you're going to bed with like papers and papers and papers from your job on your desk. That's wage theft. All right. And they'll give you slight little pay bumps every now and then, maybe like vacation days, some benefits, stuff like that, and say, oh, it's all good, it's okay, it's da 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 da. But they're stealing from you. Okay. And then what happens is they turn this around, right? And then suddenly, like, they'll try to say, like, listen, like, it's not my fault. It's all these regulations, and I got to pay all these things, and like Social Security and taxes and Medicare and da da da. And then suddenly you're sitting there thinking, yeah, why does my boss pay out to all these people instead of paying me? It must be that, there's all these poor people taking advantage of the system and da 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 da. No. Rich people take advantage of the system to hoard their wealth, and the poor have to struggle literally to survive while we're being pitted against each other. All right? I think I took a alignment thing, and I ended up finding out that I'm libertarian. I don't really know. I don't really identify myself as any kind of political thing. I just do what I do, and I am who I am. But yeah, like, again, rich people are basically getting the poor to fight each other, right? And the easiest way for everybody to get along is just putting down some regulations, making it harder for businesses to steal from you, and focusing on actually doing things that are going to improve, America. Like, if crime is rampant, most people say get more police officers. I say what you need is fixing that income inequality. You still do need police officers, But sometimes some calls don't need a police officer to show up. Sometimes they need ambulances. Sometimes they need firefighters. And you need to be able to pay all of that. But socialism. Yeah, no, I know. That's what I say. And like then people are like, oh, socialism. It's the same thing. They're picking a word and then they're making that their scapegoat. So socialism must be terrible because, all the time I hear all these terrible things about socialists and socialism and da 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 da. The only thing socialism really means is I believe that as a society, we should be putting more into ourselves instead of to companies and businesses and all this other random shit, right? I was reading, so there was a little bit of a controversy that happened recently with, hold on, we're gonna switch to just. There's a controversy recently that happened with Elon Musk, where he essentially tried to fire one of his employees very publicly and basically accused them of not having the handicap that they did. It was really, really bad. He had to retract it all. He had to apologize. He had to do all this crap. That person is independently wealthy. And one of the things that they gloated about, that they said they were very proud of, is that they paid the second highest tax in his country. Because in his country, which I believe was Finland, I don't know, it might have been Holland. It was somewhere like close to the Netherlands. I'm not sure. The point is that in his country, the taxes, the amount people pay in taxes is made public. All right. They literally will publish a list being like, ta-da, here's everybody that paid taxes in our country. Right. The best part about it is that they take pride in being the person that paid the most. You know why? Because the person that paid the most made the most. Right? So I would be like, yeah, look at that. Like, I just paid all this money in taxes. If it were up to me, there would be no charities at all. Charities would not exist. All right? There'd be zero charities. Charities would be illegal. And then all the money that you'd be donating to charity would actually come from taxes that would then be invested into social programs, which would do what the charities are trying to do. Charities are basically just a really, really shitty stopgap. It's basically like a safety net full of holes that just exists to cover the gaps that we have in our government. Because our government isn't interested in taking care of its people, it's interested in taking care of its businesses. It's interested in taking care of its economic interests, most of which are basically exporting military technology. Now, sorry, I went on a real rant there. My God, I kind of lost it. But my point here is that when people say you're socialist and that's the terrible and that's the problem, look, nothing is a perfect system, but imagining that we got it right 300 years ago and there's absolutely nothing to fix is a much bigger problem here. And targeting these people and scapegoating them by just labeling them into socialists and communists and Marxists is just a way to avoid talking about the details, right? Like, let me put it this way: I used to work with a charity. We were doing work with them, trying to get the word out about them. I realized that for the amount that they were paying my team to basically reach out to people in need and get the word out, they could have easily just paid for an ad campaign that would have actually promoted them and people would actually know who I was talking about when I was reaching out to these people being like, hi, have you heard of the charity da 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 da? If you're feeling like da da, you should go reach out to them. Like, let me put it this way. I was working for the government making basically serving as an ad for charities. Why was the government not just doing what the charities were supposed to be doing? We sent these people to these charities, and then they didn't even get the help that they needed. Sometimes. They did get... I'm not going to throw everybody under the bus. Some of them did get the help they needed. But there were lots of stories where they got bupkis. Like, nothing. One of the worst stories, just talking from personal experience, and I will probably bring this one up a lot because it was pretty bad. But one of the worst stories I had was I was helping this woman. She had some food insecurities, so we got her set up with a food kitchen, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, we got her set up with some other stuff that she needed. But during the course of getting her set up, she actually, her daughter fell and ended up breaking her leg. So she had to get rushed to emergency services. This woman did not have enough to pay for the medical procedure, but she tried anyways. I told her who to reach out to get that covered and get some help for that. She did her best. But medical expenses are expensive here in America, as most people know. Then she told me, all right, I got the medical expenses taken care of, but my daughter needs a wheelchair. Right? She needs a wheelchair, or the crutches just aren't working because apparently she had actually broken like both legs pretty much. And she needs a wheelchair. And I was like, all right, so cool. I will look into that. And I started reaching out to like charities that work with families, charities that work with like religious people, charities that work with medical stuff, charities that work with everything. Nobody. Eventually, it got so bad that I helped the government I was working with. I helped them organize a aid fair where the various charities that serve the community would gather around, and people could essentially show up there and find the charity that they needed and talk to them about what it is they needed, maybe get some contacts, get some stuff going so that they could start the process of getting the help they needed. And I told her, go to this thing, talk to everybody there. Make sure that you reach out to everybody, ask them like, hey, I need this wheelchair. Please, like, if there's anything you could do, it doesn't have to be new. It doesn't have to be in great condition. Like, I just need, like, my daughter needs it. And so she went to every single booth. Absolutely no one helped her. Eventually, what she ended up doing was she took the food that I had originally helped her get, the food that she literally could not afford, and she repackaged it, baked it into some nice baked goods from her home country, and sold those to people that were going to work, and gathered up the money to buy or rent a wheelchair for a little while. These charities are a broken system, and the government does not take care of us. And because the government isn't taking care of us, charities have to come in and do that job for them, and they fail repeatedly, right? And people have to figure out like, oh, where do I go? Who do I go to? Da, 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 da. There's like 4 soup kitchens in the area. Which one's the best one, right? Which one is going to give you actual food, and which one's going to give you like half a meal and then just call it like a big meal, and then say to the government that they're paying you out this lavish expensive meal so that they can get a whole bunch of money back. All right? Like, I don't want to get lost in this. This makes me really emotional. But the point here is that if this was a government that served the people, we could basically obliterate charities and just collect the money that would be going to charities, that would be basically being donated to this from our highest earners, and just shove that into social programs. And then everybody would just reach out to their local government for help. They would receive that help, and then they'd be able to lead productive lives. Right? Like, do you know what's one of the greatest things that you can do for a homeless person? Or, I'm sorry, the unhoused? House them. Give them a home. Almost every homeless person can feel much better and start being a much more productive person with a home and a roof. Like, that's all they need. And I know some of them need some other stuff. I know some of them are going through some serious mental issues. Some of them are going through some, very, very serious PTSD, especially the veterans. Some of them have some kind of emotional or learning disability. Some of them have some really serious disabilities too. But a lot of homeless people would benefit from a home, just a home. It doesn't have to be a permanent one. It could just be a temporary one. But it's simple things like that that would make this country literally one of the best. And all we would need to do for that is have a robust IRS that can actually tax rich people, and then, keep going with this. The majority of the homeless are look, that's also kind of here or there. You know, like there are a lot of homeless in America, and part of the reason why we say that most of the homeless are mentally ill here is because Kennedy Kennedy started this whole program about mental health and basically revamped asylums. Before Kennedy, asylums were essentially places where people went to get lobotomized. They didn't try anything else. They just went like, if we just cut this part of the brain, suddenly they stop screaming. Wonderful, you know? No, not great. But after Kennedy, there were pushes after pushes after pushes to basically ramp that down, stop giving funding to it, and stop fixing things, right? Because basically what he did is he actually put real mental hospitals that were really interested in actually taking care of these people, also interning them almost indefinitely, but you know, nothing's perfect. It would have gotten fixed eventually, but what ended up happening is there was a lot of pushback on that, and eventually they just had to close altogether. Yeah, Reagan was eventually the one that really, really sealed the coffin. I think if we're talking Reagan and then Bush really, really killed it. But Reagan gutted the funding almost entirely and made it basically unsustainable for people to be able to seek the mental health they needed. And American politics is so fun. And what ended up happening is that all of these hospitals shut down, and all the people that used to be in them receiving care were just sort of thrown out into the streets and said, all right, good luck. And then what ends up happening is we get the opposite. We get what's called hostile architecture, which essentially is like under bridges sometimes is a good place for homeless people to sleep. Well, now they've started adding spikes there to make sure that you can't lie down there. It's insane. The places people will go for this kind of shit is just wild. Like here we go. Hold on.
Hostile architecture. Whether it's purposefully uncomfortable benches or placing rocks where homeless people sleep, you've probably seen a photo or two of some examples online.
You've got it.
The most ridiculous
Hold on.
of them can look like modern art sculptures, and the boldest usually feature spikes in their design.
Hold on. She's doing a great job, but I just want to see the hostile architecture. Nope, that's fine. Nope, I just wanted the images. So yeah, so hostile architecture looks like this. Like this is just to stop people from lying on the bench, you know. These are spikes to keep people from lying on the bench. This just looks genuinely uncomfortable. I don't know why you would do this. And yeah, a lot of Republican mayors are pushing for this because Republicans think out of sight, out of mind. If they can't lie down here, maybe they'll go somewhere where they can. But instead of, you know, investing in this kind of bullshit, which basically just makes your city ugly too, like, why would you do this? You know? But instead of wearable workarounds for hostile architecture, I love this. God, I love this. I don't know who made this, but I love this. But look, instead of actually investing into like social programs that would help the homeless, I don't know, have homes. Like again, the problem here isn't that like some people have suddenly, you know, decided that the streets are just a better place to sleep. They don't have a home. There is nowhere for them to go except the streets. And if you just gave them somewhere to go, a house, a home, a roof, anything, you would not have these problems. And we would not have this ridiculous, what is this? Like, look at that. Yes. Yes. This is what we need. Homeless people wearing whatever this is. My God. Like, you're not fixing the problem. You're just making it stranger, weirder, worse. This one I actually don't mind that much. Not the spikes. The spikes are pretty bad. This one I don't mind that much. This is kind of like a bench. Although I get it. There, it's like subtle Hostile architecture, you know? When you're inclusive but still hate the poor. Yep. Yeah. Yep. And this is what I'm saying. Like they'll like this is actually a really good point here with this one. This is both inclusive and exclusive. So the problem is we are having there's always money for prisons. You know why? Because prisons are private companies and they deserve to make their business. But homes, if you're buying homes for people, that's that's not great. But prisons, like those are made to put people in involuntarily, not homes. That's not the same. Yeah, no, there's always money for prisons, but there's never money for homes. So yeah, look at this. So they made this, and this is what I've been saying about the woke culture, which is like, look, I don't see a problem with being inclusive or trying to pick better language so that you're actually, doing the things you're doing. But like, if you're so focused on being inclusive with being, like gay or whatever, like you should be focused on the homeless problem too. Like you should not just like sit there and like go all in on like catering to gay people, but also just ignoring the problem that is homelessness. Like what is this? Hold on. Hello, we are from Container and would like to shed some light on our appearance of the bench. The bench was actually a donation. They know who walks by every day. The intent was not to institute or uphold the principles of hostile or exclusionary design. It was just a gift. All right, that's nice. A more complete story about the bench will likely come out later in summer. Nice. So again, I'm sure that this is like they said, like this is probably just a gift. This is probably not on purpose or whatever. But like simple things like that are just making it harder for people to be poor, which is not in and of itself a crime. It's just like an unfortunate consequence of being, of having this problem. Chevron, Coca-Cola, Amazon too. Oh boy. Oh yeah. 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 I mean, look, the private for-profit prisons are one of like the worst parts of America because they have no interest in actually getting you to stop being in prison. Their only interest is for you to come back. Like, let me put it this way. Have you ever seen a business that doesn't want a repeat customer? Because I haven't. Every business I've ever seen wants me to come back. Like, I got a VPN that has a 3-year contract with me. They send me emails every month asking me to resubscribe. I'm with them for 3 years. I paid for 3 years of service, and I still get a message every month saying, why don't you just add a little extra to your plan? Subscribe a little more, get a little more, do a little more. Why? Because again, no customer does not want you to come back, or no business doesn't want you to come back. That's just not a thing in businesses. I mean, the only business that might not want to see you come back, the funeral business, right? Like, actually, Finnish prisons. I've seen a little bit on Finnish prisons. Finnish prisons don't want repeat customers. They focus on rehabilitation, which essentially means sitting there and being like, hey, why don't we work on channeling that energy and giving you productive skills that will make you a productive member of society instead of having you stuck in this loop where you're like, oh, hey, I can't afford healthcare, but hey, they give me free healthcare in prison, so I might as well just rob a bank. Like, there's these people that just get stuck because they'll get out of prison, they'll try to do things right, they'll realize how hard it is because they haven't actually learned anything other than, what the prison taught them, which was sit down, watch this TV, get fed this, and talk to your fellow criminals. It's just a dumb system. Like we're making ourselves worse with these like problems, right? Like you talk to people that are in the same line of work, and then like I think the worst part is like some people go in there for like random petty crimes, and then they come out like seasoned criminals because they're ready, because they've been trained, because they've been talked to, because maybe the experience they had in jail was actually worse than what it would have been otherwise. Now, look, we've talked about the problems with the justice system a lot here. We've also talked about, have we talked about the I think we have. We talked about bail a little bit, right? How bail is basically just stacked against people. It's terrible. Um, but the problem here is just, prisons in America are basically made to get the prisoners back in after they leave. Prisons elsewhere, especially like Finnish prisons, British prisons, stuff like that, are there to train them to be better members of society so that they don't have to come back. It just makes more sense because then we don't have to pay them to be in there draining our resources, right? Like we don't have to pay, like it's expensive to keep these people in prison. And we're just paying that because it's like, oh, well, out of sight, out of mind. Like, no, it's dumb. What is this? Nice. Thank you. Cool. All right. Trans rights. Awesome. Yeah, Bernie's pushing 60K for everybody. I'm probably gonna get off in a little bit. It's getting kind of late. But things are getting wild. So hold on, let me see. We already did the hostile architecture. We looked into this. We looked into that. We did that. I'll leave that open. What's this?
The vaccine.
30 minutes.
The vaccine.
Jesus Christ.
The United States government work with the private sector to develop.
Yeah, we'll do this. Why not?
Company Moderna. They own the intellectual property of the vaccine. Okay.
So this is Politics Joe. They do some really great videos like this. Bernie Sanders is sitting down at the pub and talking about why capitalism is failing. For those of you who don't know, he's going to talk about the vaccine a little bit. We definitely don't have time for this. I just realized we're almost at the 3-hour mark. We'll do this one next time. But for those of you who don't know, Politics Joe, he's great. I'm going to subscribe right now, actually. This video is actually really great. Bernie Sanders basically talks about how capitalism is failing us. Specifically, what I think he's going to talk about right now, and I'll just cut him off before he starts because, again, we don't have time, is the vaccine. We paid for it, and now the companies that are making it are now saying that they want to charge for it. Now, we paid for the development of it. We paid for the shipment of it. We paid for the materials that made it. That's all taxpayer money. And now the companies that make it say, yeah, but wouldn't it be cool if like we could just sell it and, make a profit off that? No, that would not be cool. And it's not cool because, again, we paid for that. So it should not then become a costly thing. And I think he's going to get into it real quick. Hold on.
There are people all over the world who cannot afford it. I've got the vaccine here in my hand. You can't afford it? Sorry. You tell me. Is that criminal? Is that any different than if you were walking by a swimming pool and you saw a kid drowning and you said, well, I don't want to get my bathing suit wet, right? What is that? How do we describe that? So notice, these are the kinds of crime is not just committed by people who rob banks. Terrible crimes are committed by people in three-piece suits, distinguished gentlemen who contribute money to the local art institute and to charities, right? And they're upstanding citizens who make decisions that kill lots of people.
Okay, so again, if you guys want to watch this video, this is actually a great video. I'll throw the link in the chat real quick. It is a great video. He basically spells out how capitalism is failing us, especially on a global scale. But more importantly, the problem being that we, as a society, hold on, let's go. So the real problem is that we, as a society, are basically punishing the people that are desperate, the people that really just have no other options. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing that they could afford, and there's no way of them escaping the poverty that they're under. And so in that desperation, they decide to commit a crime, violent crimes, stealing, whatever it is. But yeah, the people that are committing these incredible crimes, the people that are stealing millions from you, I don't know about billions, but millions at the very least, don't get punished. And they don't get punished because they are essential to the economy. Who's gonna do it if not them? Someone. That's the answer. Someone will do it because we need to hold these people accountable for the crimes they commit. Just because you are not holding a gun to this person does not mean that there isn't a crime being committed here. All right. Like, he's probably going to talk about insulin at some point, how insulin prices are insane. Eli Lilly recently announced that they're going to drop that price to $35 a month. That's wonderful. That's great news. But the only reason they did that was because somebody pranked them on Twitter and basically said insulin is free. And the amount of backlash that they received after they said, whoops, my bad, that's not happening, made them realize, maybe we are charging too much for insulin. By the way, that $35 a month is only to people with insurance and Medicare and like certain other special conditions. There's still gonna be plenty of people that still have to pay the going rate, which is basically extortion, right? Like, you are holding back a life-saving medicine and putting it behind a paywall. What is the difference between that and me saying, hey, if you don't get this money to me in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to shut down your kidneys? Like, like, that's extortion. That's literally extortion. How he robbed pensioners out of all their money in the 80s. But like, there's been so much, like, let me put it this way. We could sit here all day throwing examples back and forth. Like, we got Bernie Madoff. We've got just recently in the crypto space, there's been a million of these scams, right? Like Celsius, like a Celsius Bank, they were this bank that said like unbank yourself, and the essential premise of the bank was that you would give them your crypto and they would hold it, and essentially the idea was that you would get the profits that a bank gets when they lend out their money. Because banks profit by basically taking your money, lending it out to big investors, and then collecting on the interest. And then they pay you that in like the tiniest sums per year. But the idea with Celsius was that they would basically take that money, sit it in a bank, and then it would just kind of like, chink, 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 and generate that interest that they were loaning out. The problem was they weren't loaning it out. And they didn't have enough money to cover the promises they made on the interest and stuff. They didn't change the interest. So instead, what they did was that they would basically take new people that came in, use the money that they put in to pay the people that were waiting from before. And eventually that ends up becoming a pyramid scheme. That's actually the basic premise of a pyramid scheme, is just, you take money from the people that come in to give money to the people that came before, and until you get to the top pyramid. Now, they are currently being investigated in this huge lawsuit, but the government's not taking it seriously because it's crypto. It's like digital assets. They're like, kind of like, I don't really understand this crime, so it's It's theft. It's robbery is what it is. All right? It's literally like, I think racketeering is technically counted in there, but like, boom. Like, this is a crime. This is a real crime. And just because it's a business does not suddenly make it not a crime, right? Just because the criminal is wearing a suit does not make it not a crime. And so capitalism fails us in these ways. It fails us because it lets us, it exposes us to a vulnerability by basically giving the power to the person that can pay the most, right? It's the reason why East Palestine happened. It's because, they valued profits over safety. It's the same reason why, we have all these like billionaires, millionaires basically on the news telling you that the problem isn't, the company that's taking advantage of you. It's the trans person that's, possibly going to be in the bathroom with you. And by the way, the easy solution to trans people in bathrooms is to make universal bathrooms like the one you have in your house. Literally, it's a toilet and a sink. That's all you need. Like, I don't understand why we're making such a big deal over these fucking bathrooms. Okay? Like, literally, all you need is to just put a bathroom in, which is a sink, and you don't need a shower at work. I mean, that's like, the one at your home, I guess. But like, all you need is a toilet and a sink, maybe a mirror, but like, you don't need all this crazy and like, people start making this big deal about how like, oh, what are we going to do when like trans people were in the bathrooms and they're like, coming in. Yeah, no, I know. The ones in your home definitely have a shower. But like if we're talking about like offices, schools, stuff like that, public bathrooms, like people make this big deal about how we're gonna have to share a bathroom with other people. I don't like sharing a bathroom with anybody. Just make them single bathrooms. Like so they might get a little dirty. You need to clean them anyways. Like clean them. Make them just bathrooms. Like I'll miss the urinal. Fine. Okay, cool. I'll miss it. It's fine, but it's gone. And now I just have the toilet, which I use all the time at home anyways, and the sink, which I use all the time at home anyways. You don't need anything else, and I don't understand why we're making such a big deal about women going into women's rooms, men going into men's rooms, whatever it is that they're making a big deal about. Like, just make them bathrooms. Not men's rooms, not women's rooms, bathrooms. Bathrooms. That's it. It's such a simple solution. We're just getting lost in this argument because again, it's easier for them to pick a target, hone in on them and attack them relentlessly because that is how they distract you from the fact that there is no policy. There is no solution to wage inequality, wage theft. There's no solution to any of this stuff coming from the Republicans. And so the easier thing for them to attack, the easier solution is to just attack people that can't defend themselves. So anyways, with that said, I'm going to leave you guys on a more positive note. I hope that have physically attacked women in the Republic. And again, that's just bullshit because again, more people have been actually attacked by like, again, the Catholic Church and or anyone else really. But like I said earlier in this, when you're looking at To Catch a Predator, it's never a trans person. It's never a drag queen. It's always just a respected member of the community up until that point where a respected member of the community showed up on the show and killed himself. And then they had to cancel the show. So, that being said, I want to leave you guys off on a lighter note. So have a good day. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. I'm going to be back on Thursday and Friday. Thursdays we do our self-care Minecraft stream. Friday we do this. The self-care streams are kind of slow, but we're getting there. We're doing whatever. Have a great day. Say something nice to somebody. Maybe it's your mom. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's your friend. Maybe it's yourself. But do something nice for somebody. All right? Especially yourself. But anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you. I love you all. Bye.